Bergman content to see that roll through.
Yeah, you've got to hit those targets. I mean, Jake Lloyd's had a real issue with his kicking this season, and you're playing on the wing, you're going inside forward 50. He has just got to get better in the twilight of his career in that particular department. But the Swans in general come inside forward 50 and butchered the ball.
3,500 square metres replaced, as you can see at this northern end. Into the Andrea Bocelli concert, the Italian tenor, as Bergman goes long up to the wing. All left behind for Grundy. Didn't give it to Florent. The Swans are about to reload. Kicks inside the forward 50. Radicalier works his way to the front. Can't complete the mark. Campbell on it. Still at centre-half forward for the Swans. Score caught by Jones.
Yeah, once again, another poor inside 50, Jared.
Yep.
Not to the advantage of the forwards. And it's in a spot where a lot of Port Adelaide defenders can actually converge on that particular ball. You need to start isolating the defenders a little bit better inside the forward 50, and then the kick will come.
Georgiades the target, slides past him.
Well, the Swans have very much built their ascension to the top of the ladder under John Longmire on the kick game, and it's been a powerhouse of them. It's failed on grand final day, but that was for all other sorts of reasons. Couldn't get their hand on it at the end of last year, but today it's just poor, sloppy kicks.
Going off to the front, Cleary. Campbell, Smothers stays in play. Moraes to Drew. Heads to half forward. It's over Georgiades' head. Search for the boundary line initially, Hamling, but realised he had some space. Turns it straight over to Butters.
Again, another kick, not to advantage.
33 possessions, 8 clearances last week against the Hawks, and a dominant display by Zach Butters. He goes wide to Wines. 26 possessions last week. Top 10 in the AFL this season for possessions per game, and the umpires found he has to go around on his mark. Behind the mark, there's Ollie Wines, 2021 Brownlow medalist. Yeah, top 10 in the AFL, same possession averages Nick Dacos and Caleb Sarong, so he's up there with the best of the best this season with the number of possessions he's been getting. Ollie Wines. His all-time best, he might give this a run. Gives it a run, and he's come through. That was probably the result that most expected.
Yeah, it's a bit of a nothing.
Short.
Yeah, bit of a nothing kick in the end. I always think if you're the player, you know you can't reach the distance. You've got to put it to a dangerous spot where you can rove 360 degrees around that contest. It was an easy spoil in the end from Sydney over the line.
Comes wide with the kick out to Chad Warner.
And just see there, the numbers on the right-hand side of the screen, just blocking that corridor kick from Sydney.
Dangerous kick, turns out over. Farrell takes the intercept mark. He, of course, missed that prelim late last year with the hamstring.
Get back here.
1-2 with Wines. Farrell now, deep entry. Hits it wide out on full.
Unusual. One of the best kicks in the comp. In golf, you get a two-stroke penalty.
Yeah, Port going at 65% by foot. Sydney at 54% by foot, Jared.
Well, it doesn't surprise you. Eyes are telling us how bad that is. And you'd love to see the Lizard be a bit more adventurous from those kick-ins rather than just going to short. There's so much room behind the wingman that was sat wide there. He could easily penetrate that, kick it to him running onto the ball.
There's Riley Bice, pick 41. Which the Swans got for Luke Parker as he kicks down the wing here. And there's Farrell, after his earlier blooper, takes a big intercept mark and do it again here for the power. Kicks into the same kind of spot. It's going, just got it to Georgiades. I thought for a moment it might have been the same result.
If that had have not been marked, it would have been out of the full. It would have bounced over the line. But he corrected a little bit, Farrell, from the kick prior to this one. Good lead by Georgiades.
Maybe the fact that he's kicked two to that spot in the space of 3 minutes suggests that it's preordained. Keep that open so Georgiades can run into that spot.
Mitch Georgiades being counted down by the umpire. Right peg against the fence, outside of the boot, trying to bend it back. That is some finish. And the power on top early. And Mitch Georgiades, a superb hooking ball on the outside of his right boot, pressed up against the fence, and Port Adelaide with the early jump, 2-2 to 1-1.
Well, they're much more on top of their game in this early part of the match than the Sydney Swans, who've won enough football, but with the exception of a miraculous Heaney goal, really have been plodding along and been given a bit of a lesson by Port Adelaide. Sydney have been unable to get the ball out of their defensive 50 on this occasion. Just come straight back over the head. And you can see that gap to the left of screen being. You can see Georgiades, he's
right,
pointing there.
You're right.
He's absolutely saying, here it is. The boys have set it up nicely for me. Bang, in we go.
It's a great kick across the body, isn't it, from Farrell? 3 forward-half intercepts, 1 goal, 2 already from Port. So defending the ground really well, as they did last week against Hawthorn. So this will be the challenge for Sydney. Getting their good ball users, try and exit their back half when they have the opportunity.
Perfect palm, Grundy to Warner.
Free kick to Rowbottom. He must have been scragged.
So they could have allowed Warner to play on to advantage there, but they thought it wasn't an advantage. So Rowbottom,
Over here. Sorry.
10 tackles for the Swans against Collingwood. Number 1 in the AFL for tackles last year. It's been having a pretty good season as well.
He's Rowbottomised the best one.
Has absolutely long inside 50 winds. Tackled quickly by Grundy, and this is a good spot for a ball up for the Swans. Haven't won a game at the SCG this year. 2 losses to Hawthorn and Brisbane. Back home for the first time in a few weeks. Grundy palms it down, winds, spanks it away. Got plenty of air in it. Fisted wide by Hamling. Into space, the Lizard up against the boundary. Speared one inside, winds. Farrell, good movement. Handball into the traffic. Go to Roberts, and he turns it straight over to Radigalea. And Port Adelaide can relieve the pressure.
I just think they're trying to bite off too much at the moment, Sydney, especially by their kicks. I mean, that kick just needs to go to the top of the goal square for the moment. And once you start to develop that consistency, then you can start to pick off those more difficult kicks as the game unfolds.
It's good to see the Lizard up in that forward half, though, because he is a dangerous Lizard when he's on the attacking side of the centre.
Well, Francis down the line, and Georgiades claims that.
And in the sun, yeah.
Cuts back inboard to Boak. Equals David Mundy today, 9th on the game's record list of AFL history.
Play on.
Yeah, Hamling's got to close the gap.
Georgiades allowed to drive it downfield. Flying Rampy, can't complete the marks, puts to Cochrane, handball away to Pal Pepper, swings it inside 50, Burn Jones can't trap it, there's Lord, knocked away from him. Blakey, handball away to Corey Warner, looking for the safety of the boundary line, and he's got it now. Of course, we talked a bit about the prelim from last year, 16 backing up for the Swans, 17 for the Power. And the oddity in all of that is 48 days before that meeting, Port Adelaide won by 112 points against the team that went on to win the minor premiership.
Yeah, that was an extraordinary evening, wasn't it?
Amazing. Now winning 8 of the last 9 against their foe today. Rowbottom on the bottom of the pack there. Dean Cox in charge. Carl Mills in the background there, the club captain. Sharing the box with him today. Cleary keeps that alive to Rowbottom. High up and under down the wing. Allowed to hit the deck. Power should get there first, and Mead able to mop it up and goes back by hand to Aaliyah. Has to try and work it out and send it down the wing.
Farrell, his target, gets him. Rosie thumps it, maybe too wide for everyone bar the boundary umpire and Hamlin. Reset here, the Swans.
Well, so far, Rosie's had 5 possessions, 2 kicks, hasn't hit a target with either. They've limited his damage to this point.
Wines got the interference free. Yeah, it's one thing to get possessions, it's another one to actually hit some targets, and rather than turn it over, or even hit it to a 50-50 where at least your forwards can contest, as that is contested by the Hornet. You put it into the Hornet's nest, it's not a bad spot to put it.
And he's showing some really early signs that he's in for a big one.
That same pocket again.
Yeah.
And that's Port Adelaide's 6th forward 50 mark. They should be further ahead.
Yeah, Sydney have had none. They've had about 6 goes at it, haven't got near it.
Coming off a 29 possession game last week against the Hawks, 7 clearances. He was dominant in that game. He gets some boosts. He does wherever he plays these days. Does Jason Horne-Francis. They didn't like the booing once upon a time here at the SCG, but they're into it now.
They probably still don't know why they're doing it, but they just do it.
Everybody else does it.
Rampy to Bice. Now at the Melican.
I think that this is where the Swans need to just change the angles, switch it across to the other side of the field. Otherwise, they're just going long down the line to where Port Adelaide are strong.
Contest kick again here. Aaliyah, a former Swan, spills the mark. Campbell to Rowbottom. And now the forward 50 kick. Down there deep and hands on it, McLean.
And the perfect sit there. It's a great kick. Just waited to McLean's right-hand side. He had the back position. He bumped him legally, didn't push out. Really good effort by McLean, and gets a chance to nail his first goal.
There's two big mates aren't there today. Noah Marty, no McDonald. They shared 80 goals between them last year, so he's the guy in the forward 50 today.
He's had to work pretty hard to get his spot back in the team. He's now there.
6 goals in his 3 starts so far. McLean, the third generation VFL AFL footballer, trying to swing it back. Not quite.
So I think Sweet had an opportunity to maybe come back a little bit more aggressive onto McLean.
3 goals last week was the Swans' leading goal kicker in that loss to Collingwood. Aidan McLean. Burgoyne just waited for the traffic to come, then went wide towards Georgiades, who competes to get it out of play, and they can at least take that as a win and reset.
Really well played by Malikan there. He was covering the long down the line, but he pushed up and squeezed up quickly enough to get the spoil.
2 rucks shield their eyes from the sun. McLean, Sweet, palm down towards Butters, but stolen by Florent.
Good hand.
Mead with a little toe off the deck. Cochrane, accidental fumble. Rowbottom nearly wrapped him up without it, though. I had to release him. Hamlin goes in. He's against the grain. All the way back to Rampy. Little palm, the push-off on Burn-Jones. Got away with it. Had he not got away with it, would have been a shot at goal for Port. So a big win there. And the ball thumped out of play.
It was a big stiff arm.
It was.
By Rampy.
I thought Palm Sunday was last week. He put the palm on him.
Just see here, not too high, all fair.
You're right, though, Dwayne. If he had a stuck, it was a goal.
Oh, Sydney.
I think you're right, Lynchy. I think use the open side of the ground, or even these handball receives, to try and generate some pace into the game.
Vice trying to get some run going to Florent. Hemmed in. Campbell, slick hands over the top, and McLean's caught.
Something I don't think Sydney use enough is a handball in attack. It's a defensive weapon more than... you rarely see a tsunami-like run and gun through the middle of the ground. They always prefer the foot.
Sweet wins it down. Butters powers through the stoppage. Got it to Mead, to Drew, over the top to Burn-Jones. Another deep entry for the power. Kicks it deep for Lord. And Ollie Lord's got it.
Well, it's a great clearance set up, shot at goal, this one. Quick hands, under the pump. 3 or 4 players just connected. And the long kick was to advantage. There's the first, and there's the second, and there's the third, all under pressure. And DBJ back into the side after suspension. Great kick.
Big day for the family as Lord hooks it through. And the power pull away. They got 3 of the first 4.
You're right, it was good stoppage, craft by a few Port Adelaide midfielders, but then it was the quick hands. Sydney's pressure is about 150, so they haven't been able to apply much pressure around these contested balls. You just see there, Willem Drew, I love the run and the understanding of when he gets the ball, handball it on, keep that ball and that momentum going forward. Lord was just too big and strong for Hamling in that one-on-one situation. That's what you get when there's a little bit more speed of ball movement further up the field. You get isolation inside your own forward 50.
He's always been one that could jump up and be a really damaging player, Ollie Lord. Played in a final a few years ago, missed a lot of footy last year with injury, but he just looks a likely type that in 5 years' time could be a force in the competition.
He kicked 4 goals in his first ever final. The final you're talking about against the Lions of the Gabba, Jared. He really let the world know that his upside is huge. Winds, heads long toward Lord. He's not able to jump at this one as he'd like to. It virtually kicked on his head. Powell Pepper with the push-off was nice. Moraes hands it back. Speaking of push-offs and palm-offs, Horn Francis with the inside kick, and Rosie comes up from half-back to take a mark and have a shot.
Yeah, well, this will possession 6 for Connor Rosie. That man there just shows great strength. It's a real hallmark of his game. Such confidence when he gets tackled. He knows he can shrug. See there, the power through the legs.
2 minutes forward.
He's a hard man to tackle.
You see what? Connor Rosey, 28 possessions, 2 goals last week against the Hawks. Possession high this year is 35 against Collingwood. And when he gets going, he's almost unstoppable. Connor Rosey.
Well, he's so aggressive with his positioning, and especially if you're getting tagged by someone like James Jordan, you can really dictate your starting position. You can get centre forward and be aggressive when the opportunity comes. Kicked a couple of goals last week from really smart positioning off the stoppage and off the congestion. You can just see there near the point post, James Jordan takes the inside position on him and just relaxes for half a second. Connor Rosey reads the kick from Jason Horne-Francis. And then just a great finish. I think the kick was maybe meant for Rosey. It might have been meant for Butters or Mead. But that's beside the point.
But when you put Rosey across the half-back line, you've got Rosey and Bergman. It's a world-class half-back attacking back line, and you may be able to stop one, almost impossible to stop two without impacting on your forward line. So the challenge is now there for Sydney. They've been ambushed. They're not looking as anywhere near as aggressive as the visitors.
Heaney trying to change that. Got it to Grundy, to Roberts. Kicks to centre half forward. Here's Campbell. Shoots it out to Rowbottom. Back to Campbell. And put it inside 50 now. Into the forward pocket. McCartan trying to get on the end of it. Slides past him. They kicked 12 of the first 13 against the Hawks last week. They've got 4 of the first 5 today. Now trying to work their way back into the season.
Another indication of that is Swans are up in first possession, but down in clearances. So the pressure and the tackle efficiency from Port Adelaide has been a real positive.
Sweet and McLean, share it down. Jordan trying to get it out. Now Butters has got him.
Well, Chad Warner's had one touch, and the Swans, with some personnel missing, need Chad Warner to be at his absolute best if they're going to win this game.
Heaney passing through the stoppage. Butters again to tackle. Got it to Rowbottom. He's locked up too. We'll have another stoppage inside the front 50 for the Swans.
They almost need Warner to be able to replace Heaney at some stage through the middle of the ground and get Heaney forward without compromising inside 50s.
McLean scrambles a kick away, but it's on the full. Saw Willem Drew on the bench as well for Port, so maybe giving him a rest while Isaac Heaney's not hot. Such a bad idea, or whether he's decided not to tag Heaney for a little while now. Giving a tag a rest. We've seen a few teams go with a double team tag situation. If you don't have a James Jordan, we can stay with the guy all afternoon. There is Heaney on cue, nearly got a clearance goal. Bergman weaves his way through the traffic nicely. Didn't want to waste it, but did. Roberts, handball half smothered. Kicked off the deck into some distance on the wing by Mead. Power Pepper waited for the pop, didn't pop. Roberts wide. Corey wide. McInerney back from suspension into the team this week. Umpire said he took a sidestep and called him to play on, but no one's heard the play on. Now the play on. That was weird. Pulls the kick to the pocket, or Port Adelaide in the lead.
Yeah, it's replay and repeat.
He had to go quick, McInerney, didn't he?
The umpire wanted him to go quick.
Yeah, there's just too much delay allowed Port Adelaide to get set. And they are having a field day in the defensive 50, the tools from Port Adelaide.
Moraes tries to measure the kick. Dangerous one, trying to get it to Bergman. Bice breaks it up. Jordan, handball away to Blakey. Backs himself in. Weaving run away to McInerney. Sends it in the Heaney direction over his head and out of bounds.
Yeah, I think the Port Adelaide coaching staff would like a little bit more energy out of Darcy Byrne-Jones there on that chase. He had the lizard and he just waltzed around him.
And repeat stoppages here in their forward 50, the Swans.
Furrowed brows on the bench for the Swans.
There's Errol Goulden. How much would they love to have him out there today? They're all Australian from last year. Warner chucked it on the boot. Sweet. His soccer skills on show. Out to Bice. Sold the dummy. Closes to 45 out. Riley Bice misses the whole set.
Yeah, well, Burn Jones covered his left foot, so that's what you're wanting in that particular instance, but he just had the speed to get around him. They've been horrible by foot, Sydney.
Yep, and he's normally a lot better than that, right?
Yeah.
He's vying for Recruit of the Year on us. Only in Game 5, the 24-year-old, too old for a Rising Star nomination. Otherwise, he would have been nominated by now. Closing seconds of the quarter. One last roll of the dice for McLean, perhaps. Alir got a hand in. Farrell stops the rock, gets it to Wines. Just the required distance. What will Port Adelaide do with 35 and counting on the clock?
System or execution for the Swans going inside forward 50?
I think both. Yeah. Certainly both.
Grundy tried to keep it alive, but to his detriment gave it to Butters. Chips it back.
Certainly the skill level doesn't help.
Yeah.
But I just think the positions in which they're kicking to and the delay which is coming further up the field is allowing Port Adelaide just to be really strong in defence.
Down the line they travel. Sydney.
I'd agree with you, Geordie. I reckon boring as well is another word.
Yeah. Well, they haven't
Just
been
not
allowed
kicking it around.
They haven't been allowed to switch the ball, and that's Port Adelaide's defence. So they've forced them into this long down the line type of game, which is allowing them to be really strong defensively.
So Hamlin's only really got one option here, and that is to bang it, hoping for a mark, but time beat him anyway. Quarter time, Port Adelaide would be extremely happy with their opening terms work, coming off a 30-point win over Hawthorn last week, and the Swans coming off a 31-point loss to Collingwood last week. Port Adelaide at quarter time by 18 points, 4-2 to 1-2. Footy never stops on Fox Footy. Massive day coming your way tomorrow with Geelong and Hawthorn, but later on today, Bulldogs and the Saints. Do not go anywhere. We've got it all covered on Fox Footy.
You won't believe.
All right, folks, welcome in. Game day again today. And, of course, the Sydney Swans are taking on Port Adelaide up there at the SCG. Sydney Swans, of course, doing their normal slow beginning. It's Port Adelaide 4-2-26, leading the Swans 1-2-8. There you what, the Swans just not sure where they are at the moment. Their game has just, I think the game has just depleted since a change of coach, since Horse was there coaching, and now Coxie's there coaching. Time will tell. Port Adelaide, though, doing it well, 4-2 on the board. Let's just say good day to a few people coming in. Addy G, Adrian Sport Channel, welcome into the live coverage. Sheila May, Chia, mega love shout. Our Tina, the manager, the boss is in the house. How you doing? How you going? Simply and Ned, welcome in. Good to see you. Bloke Water supporter. Hey, good to see you. Been a while. Welcome in, everyone. I just wanted to put up, actually, let me just transfer over the ladder. I want to see where these two teams sit on the ladder. These two teams, Sydney Swans are sitting 12th on the ladder at the moment. Port Adelaide, 13th. Whoever wins this will leapfrog the other. Of course, if we turn the live ladder on, that's where they will go from 12th to 13th. Port Adelaide will actually jump up into 10th spot if they can win this game. If they win it by a big enough margin, they might even jump up into 8th. That. Still 7% is going to be a big margin to do. All right, let's just, hang on. Now, wrong one. Let's just have a little bit of a look at the ins and outs, because I didn't get there, Tina. I didn't get there to have a look at the ins and outs of both teams prior to starting. But Lewis Melican comes in for Sydney, as with Justin McInerney and Aaron Francis. Going out, Joel Amati, Sheldrick, Laddams, and of course the sub, Aaron Francis. Armony, well, he hasn't done much, so he's probably going out for a rest. For Port Adelaide, coming in, Darcy Byrne-Jones is a big in for Port Adelaide. Rory Atkins also going out for Port Adelaide. Joe Berry, Joe Richards, the Joes are going out. Rory Atkins is the new player. Rory Atkins is the sub. Of course, a milestone game. There's only one, and that is Jackson Mead of Port Adelaide, celebrating his 50th game. All right, let's just jump over quickly. Have a look at the goal scorers before we get back down there. For Port Adelaide, Connor Rose, Sam Powell-Pepper, Ollie Lord, Mitch Georgiadis are the goal scorers there for Port Adelaide. All single goal scorers, 4 of them. And for Sydney, Isaac Heaney, is the only single goal scorer for them. Just on the disposal count quickly, because we are back at the game, leading the way. No player in double digits just yet. But Kane Farrell for Port Adelaide lead the way on 9. Nick Blakey also, the Lizard, on 9 for Sydney Swans. Ollie Wines there with 8. Isaac Heaney, good to see him having a nice opening quarter there with 7, 2 kicks, 5 handballs, a clearance and a goal there. So going all right. The big man, Brodie Grundy, good to get him back into some form. 6 touches, 8 hit-outs. All right, let me just roll down here and we're going to get back down to the ground, and they're going to take us into the bounce of the ball for the second quarter. There we go. There are some of your stats on the opening quarter there. We got just a minute to go before the bounce of the ball, but welcome in everyone. Welcome in. Thanks everyone for coming in, listening to the game. Don't forget, put your vote in who you think is going to win after quarter time. So far, we got Port Adelaide. 55% of the people in have voted Port Adelaide. Things could change. We know Sydney Swans are a slow beginning team, but they can come home reasonably strong on their home turf today. So it should be an interesting match, this one today. Both are reasonably good teams. Port Adelaide coming off a good win over Hawthorn. Sydney are probably expecting to win this game. We'll wait and see. It's 18 points the difference. Of course, Port Adelaide leading the way after quarter time. Let's get back down to the ground now, and they will take us into the bounce of the ball for the second quarter here at the SCG.
And they're just absolutely out of sorts at the present time, going inside forward 50. Chad Warner hasn't been anywhere near it. Lloyd's had a couple of kicks, kicked it back to the opposition. They've really had no one that's stood out. I think Rowbottom's been a reasonable player, and maybe Lewis Malikan, but gee, they need a huge lift across the board, beginning from this group inside the middle.
Yeah, it's fair to say they haven't showed up in the first quarter. Only 9 tackles for the game. Port Adelaide at 19, 157 the pressure. So they've been bullied, to be honest. They haven't been able to get their hands on the ball. When they have, they've tried to pick the hardest target possible. So they need to get back to basics. Pressure, contest, and try and get some field position on Port Adelaide. They're winning a lot of the one-on-one contests at the moment, Port. They seem to have more energy all over the ground. And certainly when they don't have the ball, they're defending the ground really well.
Power playing from in front again this week. And the Swans, hoping that a bit of Neil Diamond can spark them in his second term as Grundy palms it down to Chad Warner. He's at the coalface, left it behind. Mead, Sockers inside 50, power to the left of screen. Cochrane got it down to Burgoyne. Couple of famous surnames as he floats a kick goalward. Malikan has got it next to the behind post. Short to Lloyd. Oh, you heard the call there, didn't travel the required distance. Rantley slips on that relayed turf. Back to Lloyd. A long kick out to half back, and that is a contest kick. Lord makes a contest in the air for Port Adelaide. Blakey toes it inside 50. Now Roberts clever. Got it out to Florent. Hand on it from Lord, and now the follow-up tackle's a little high.
Nevertheless, what he's doing there, Ollie Lord, is an example of what you'd expect from the Swans. I mean, he got the hand in, then he got the high tackle, but he's aggressive and he's really making a physical statement.
McInerney didn't like what he had on offer as the switch goes down the fat side, the congested side, close to the back, and almost taken out the turf because of...
It was Andrea Bocelli, the Italian tenor.
Because one of his biggest hits is None Shall Sleep, and none shall sleep tonight if they keep slipping over on that. Ball about to be flung back in.
He set you up nicely there.
Sweet. And Grundy knock it down. Grundy gets it back, flicked it back out wide. McInerney allowed Campbell to go in and get it for him. Well, Hanley looked around to see what options he had. He simply needed to get it inside 50 and maybe try and hit a target. Burgoyne stood in the hole, holds it in.
It's a better result, though. At least they get a stoppage inside their forward 50. You can get numbers to this particular contest. Maybe catch the eye of a ruckman with an aggressive run by either Heaney and McInerney in there.
Sweet. Down to Burgoyne. Now Aaliyah. off the back flank. He's only lost once against his old team. Last year's prelim, and there's Roberts.
And this is what you want, the repeat entry on the back of that.
To Lloyd. Hand pass over the top to Blakey. Ordinarily a good user. Has time for a bounce, Blakey. Kicks a high up and under goalward. It's right to the line. McCartan leaping over the top. Can't trap it.
Hasn't had much influence inside the forward 50, McCartan, so far in this game. Been targeted a couple of times.
Is the craft or the delivery?
I think, once again, I think it's obviously the delivery makes it a bit better, but he can get himself under the ball a bit. McCartan, certainly when he plays forward.
So Rosie allowed to stroll away and hit the easy targets in. He's put together a pretty good year. Heads toward Horn Francis, can't mark it. Grundy crumbs it. Turned outside. Knew he had Florent. Turnover. Moraes, the possession machine to Mead. Little 1-2. Does well. Game 50. Heads toward half forward. Horn Francis had to really work hard on Lloyd. Hassles him. Tackles him. And the boundary line, the friend of Milliken will get a ball in.
I think Lloyd did well there. He was in a poor position, but he used his body experience to neutralise.
There's Ken Hinkley from the bench again today.
It's just a transition of the game. You see the power going from one end of the ground to the other with much more speed, fewer possession, and getting it into dangerous spots.
Down to Rioli. Hurried kick to the goal square. Georgiades won't be paid.
I think he knows it as well.
Yeah, umpire could have been a bit brutal there and said, you knew that. Held the ball.
Bad result. Team forward stoppage as the Swans work it out. Chad Warner, quick time. Get the free kick. Same team as his brother today. They've got a strong record, the Swans, of brothers turning out for them, even in recent times. The Jacks, the McCartans, Warner's adding their name to that list. Chad and little brother Corey out there. Long kick down the wing. Spills out the back. Rosie. A jinking run. Trying to evade Hanley. Sends a kick back down to half forward for the power. Up goes Grundy. And just punches at the safety.
No doubt Dean Cox would have questioned the pressure and the ability to chase. You just see there Warner just basically stops. The ball's being turned over. The effort to run defensively by their good players is not at the level at the moment to be playing AFL football. So that needs to improve.
Here he is for you on cue, coming off a 24 possession game last week. Chad Warner, so hasn't been up to his best. Bergman, it was there, he couldn't find it, found the handle, which just got it away in the end to Burgoyne. He showed some poise.
He's a good player now, this bloke.
Back to Bergman, he could be All-Australian.
Yep.
At least squad a 40 by the end of the season. He is having a pretty good career, pretty good season.
Just showed great core strength there. McCartan's a big guy, and he had him in his sights. Still couldn't nail it. There was a goal on the offering if he makes the tackle. That'll be a worried coach's box right now.
Yeah, Dean Cox, first season as coach for the Swans, working the phone overtime. Both ruckmen had a piece of each other's jumper. Butters with the strength. That will throw it from here to Drew. Bounces it inside 50. Lord gave it out wide. Mead has pulled the kick to the pocket. Nicely delivered to Cochrane.
It was so quick, the umpire may have missed it. But once again, it's the quick nature in which they're able to go from a contested possession to the outside and use shape in and around the contest that Sydney cannot apply any pressure.
He probably did get a fist on it. I mean, he's a genius, this bloke at stoppages, Butters, and wasn't much of a fist on it, but I suspect the replay, the close-up, would say that he got it.
Tom Cochrane bends that to perfection. It's only game 3. It looks like he's got what it takes.
Well, he and Georgiades must have been practicing these during the week. 2 really good check sides for goal. Once again, you can just see here the Butters pick up. And is it a throw?
Yeah.
Yes, it was a throw upon replay. But the quick kick out of stoppage, and then you see the isolation inside Port Adelaide's forward 50, the ability to get past the contest. Blakey, it is on this occasion, just gets caught ball watching with Cochrane slipping in behind him. Fantastic finish from that position on the ground.
Geez, I did my best to give the umpire the benefit of the doubt, but it's a shocking throw, that one.
Son of Stuart Cochrane. This is his little brother, Dougie, who is a hot prospect as well, coming through the underage system at the moment. The best player in the 16s carnival last year for SA. Crooked bounce up, lets them go. A sweet bunches it forward. Roberts whacks it out wide. Is Lloyd mowed down as soon as he got it? It's a bit of tunnel ball. Comes out to Burn-Jones. It's Rioli to Butters. Inside 50 again, the power, and there's Georgiades. Oh, that's not paid either.
At the deck. Sorry, I thought he said Mark, but I didn't hear it correctly, so I'm going to ball it up. No. He said no, Mark. So I'm going to ball it up.
Very clear explanation. I'm not sure Mitch was listening to that. You reckon, Jared?
Well, I think the umpire might have had a case fit the deck.
Chad Warner gets it out of defensive 50. Carlton had a play on it.
So he just gets himself underneath the drop of the ball.
Yep.
And really allows Ratugolea to dictate that contest.
Toward the boundary, Warner pursues it, not to do his own advantage, and takes off on Drew, who didn't give up on the chase.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
Great chase by Willem Drew, forced the out on the full.
He's a pretty good midfielder, attacking midfielder in his own right as well, Willem Drew, but he's taken the role as the tagger as his avenue to play regular footy. #1 clearance winner in the under-18s in his draft year, Willem Drew. So he can get you a clearance, win you one. There's some other midfielders that can do that for Port, so he does the tagging role. Georgiades, Burn-Jones, a sizzler toward Power Pepper. A little too slick from Lloyd. And they're all under the hammer with every possession, the Swans.
Well, we just saw the numbers on the pressurometer, 204 to mid 170s. It doesn't lie. We can see it. The Swans are under the pump. Another couple of goals and this game's over.
Sweet. The telling touch there, Rowbottom. Get it out of here, kick off the deck. Jordan to Campbell. Or throw against Jordan.
That's right. Just here. Lucky.
They had a good vantage point, the umpire there, for the James Jordan throw.
#1 mark, inside 50 team in the comp, Port Adelaide. We saw that on show in the opening term. They took 8 of them.
And that was just 15.
That was about a good 11.
Rosie with the entry. Into the pocket, over the top Georgiades, and out the back for a throwing.
It's that same pocket they're going to,
Yep.
but at the centre of the ground. Georgiades obviously likes to lead to that pocket. Some guys do have a preferred side to lead to. To take a mark on the run.
The ball is living in the front half of Port Adelaide at the moment. The Swans just cannot get it to the other end of the ground.
Sweet front spot, knocks it central. Heaney, was that a handball? Butters to make something out of nothing. It goes wide, and this one's not marked either by Georgiades. That's 3 in a row that he's almost had, and he looks at the umpire and says, "Oh, nearly."
We can only smile.
Yeah. He has had the best season of his career so far, Miss Georgiades. Dean Cox working the bench. The Brains Trust, McInerney, Blakey having a chat on either side of him. Butters goes and gets, they go and get him, gang tackled. Got some work to do. He's coming off a long career as an assistant to John Longmire, 14 seasons as coach, the longest serving Swans coach in South Melbourne City Swans history, John Longmire. Tough act to follow for Dean Cox. Butters gets it out.
I think the beauty about coming down to the bench in that instance is you've got players from every single line. Midfielders, forwards, backs. You can have a group conversation. It's another missed kick.
Cleary gets there on the hop and puts it out on the full.
It is as poor a display of kicking as we've seen by any side this year in the first quarter and a half by Sydney.
This is extraordinary that Sydney is still in this game.
2 in every 5. They're coughing up their kicks at the moment. The Swans kick inside 50. Punched away to Boak. Hand pass to Rioli in a dangerous spot. Sells a bit of candy. Rioli goes. And how the footy world loves him. Willie Rioli's teammates rush to him once more. And Port Powers further ahead in this game.
Well, that was really the only way the ball was going to get to halfway. It was through Port Adelaide kicking a goal and it returning to the centre of the ground. But it was just, once again, great pressure. It was great vision by Travis Boak. on the back of a couple of really poor kicks by Sydney, exiting their own defensive 50. Just there, the handball by Boat to Rioli. The ability to sell, you're going outside, then coming back in, and having just that time to finish.
Yeah, it's a total domination at the present time. Sydney got the fumbles. They've got they're shambolic with their kicking at the present time. Willie's just putting on a show there. Hasn't had much of the ball as Willie, but that was pretty clever.
You can argue he's their most potent forward, their most dangerous forward. Willie Rioli, 3 goals last week. Campbell just bangs it out of there. Just goes with the wobbly talk. Gets it inside 50, and Radigalea read that to perfection.
Yeah, they can't win a contest forward of the ball, and they're getting smashed at the other end. So once again, the McCartan decision comes into play. Where is he best suited?
Yeah, well, there'll become a point where you have to try something else. That looks like a push out. Lord looks at the umpires and say, what? Hamlin knew exactly what.
Yep. So this is where you try and change an angle. Lynchy put it on the agenda in the first quarter. Try and bring that ball back on the inside, or either switch it to try and draw Port Adelaide out. Can't just keep going down the line to Radigalea and Alir.
So they've tried this a few times, and they just well defended by Port Adelaide behind the ball.
That's a good grab. McLean legally edged his man under the ball. The crowd rise. Big round of applause. They need Hayden McLean to stand up. They need a forward to take a few marks inside 50 and slot some goals to bring him back. He had the reach and the leverage on Mead.
Well, that's his second mark inside 50, Dwayne. And that is the only 2 for Sydney so far.
Port Adelaide's kicked the last 5 goals of this game in a row. McLean struts in and he can't stop the rock.
No, and you're not going to win a game of footy on based on contested marks. So they're a bonus in today's day and age of footy. You've got to nail the goals when they come through.
Rosie out of defence under pressure. McLean wins it back to Cleary. He's back by hand. There's Campbell away towards Wicks. The short kick goes wide. Oh, back to Cleary.
Really short. Not even a mowing strip. Mowing strips are 12.5 metres. Didn't even get one.
So there's various mowers that have various widths, Stuart.
Well, I don't think the mower is 12.5 metres wide, Brian, but that's what they do at the moment at the G.
The double mow.
McCartan keeps it alive. Hooks it back to a dangerous spot. Hayward with the climb. And they needed something special, and they've got him in Will Hayward.
Yeah, well, they got lucky there, didn't they? Alir should have taken that mark. I think he was expecting contact, which didn't eventually come.
Well, this is his spot for mine. It's deep. He's a deep forward. I see him go up on the wing, and I see him go up on the half-forward line. He gets lost, but play him deep, he'll kick your goals.
Hayward hooking. He's got it. And he stops the bleeding. And that was one that Sydney badly needed. After 5 straight for the power either side of quarter time, they trimmed the margin to 22.
I've seen him play up tall forwards this year, the best games he's played. He went on to Sicily, then against the Kangaroos, I think it was. He played on Condon, kicked 4 goals. But he just seems to understand the game best when it's in the tram tracks coming out of the goal square, as you can see there. He can see what's happening with the football. He doesn't have to go up and back. He doesn't have to play the 360 game. It's just jump and deliver.
Shows how important it is from a Port Adelaide point of view to stay engaged, to look who's around you, not get caught watching the ball. There's 3 defenders there. No one had touch and feel on that man. Able to fly.
There's no rules in footy. You don't have to be 6'6" to play out of the goal square. Crosby Pickett proved that again yesterday.
See if they can get some momentum out of that. Blakey against the grain, game tackled. This Hayward's an accurate kick as well. You give him 5 chances, he'll kick you 4 or 5 normally. 41 goals, 16 last year, Will Hayward.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, he's Will Wayward. Now he's very much on target. He's got his kicking strength well and truly. And you can see Heaney is appealing for a grab at the last stoppage. He's had a gutful of the attention he's been given.
Lord in the ruck against McLean. Lord gets the clearance. Blakey cut it off. Scrambles it away wide to the wing. 1-on-1. Good battle. Little knock on, didn't quite work for Sin, but it worked beautifully for Corey Warner. A sizzler to McInerney. Something going their way. Hands it off to the run of the Lizard. This would bring the house down. Missed it.
Yeah, but that's the handball. So you've got to keep turning up and providing the option if you're Blakey, Bice, the halfbacks. But that handball from McInerney, they need more of that in their game.
Yeah, all of a sudden, just a couple of positives moves would probably spark a bit of belief amongst the group.
A bit of pep in their step, the crowd involved. A lead of Burgoyne. Stabs it very short. There's man on halfback in the raking, dangerous left boot. And Kane Farrell punched away by Melican and out of bounds.
Had a good 5 minutes, Sydney. Even their defence there, you could just see the way they were set up. Got the bubble well and truly set up where they can't deliver the ball. Even if they try to cross, that outlet kick has been covered, so it's down the line. They get a stoppage. A bit of a buzz just starting to grow at the G.
Lord doing some of the ruck work. Close to the boundary line, and out it goes.
The SCG.
That's the SCG.
I think they're doing a lot right. If you take away the efficiency of Sydney and the ability not to be able to use the ball at a really high level, their ground ball game's good, their contested stuff's in really good shape. Still getting opportunities going inside their own forward 50.
McLean and Lord. McLean gets rid of him. McInerney away to Blakey. And he gets some run going. Handball away to Roberts. Can he give it back to him? He does. Boundary line wins out.
Well, he was caught in between two minds. He was going to handball to McLean on the inside, which may well have been the option, but I think everybody loves giving it to the Lizard up in Sydney because he's such a dangerous kick. But again, just continuing their little period of dominance, Sydney. Haven't got much on the board to show for it.
Lord with the palm down. Roberts, Horn Francis, Jordan in there.
He looks like he's been given the task, Roberts, to go on to the Hornet. He's had him for a few minutes.
Butters tried to get it on the run through. Row bottom on hands and knees, fed it up. Butters steals, gave to Burgoyne in some space. To Mead on the run. He looked around, no one was around him. Went to that pocket again. Still alive for Georgiades, couldn't quite trap it. Cochrane too slick with the handoff. To go and mop his mess up and try and catch the Lizard. He slipped away from him, slipped a kick inside, didn't hit a target. Jordan made it look okay. Corey Warner around his body, but straight to the Hornet, Horn Francis. Well, they play on quickly, they do. Inside kick to Farrell. They want to go Port Adelaide if they can.
Yeah, not a great kick from Corey Warner. He knew he was under the pressure, but you just can't. You've got to do something better than just kick it straight to the opposition.
Rosie to Butters. The leaders involved for Port. We'll take any kind of sting out of this, any momentum the Swans are trying to build. In a slow play here, Butters down the line. Punched away by Hamling, and Pepper sees it out.
Yeah, there wasn't too much movement in the forward 50, so that's why Butters wasn't in a rush to get it inside there. So in the end, it was just a kick to the pocket to be able to set up another stoppage. You see there the congestion, really tough to find a spare Port Adelaide player.
Swans kick the last, power 5 in a row before that. Here's Rioli to try and get his second of the term. High up and under, and Hamling with a bit of help. Lloyd in the other direction.
Well, be red light flashing right now. Willie Rioli, the Hornet, just geniuses at ground level, close to goal.
A few deep breaths from Mitch Georgiades. An almost kind of day. Kicked a nice check side earlier in the piece. McLean wins it down. Drew has a windy. He's flying. At the row bottom. Gets it out of the defensive 50 for the time being. Farrell, not quite. Boak. Back to Farrell. Hannelly gets a kind bounce. Left it behind. He's McInerney to row bottom to Roberts. All round the back. Florent trying to pick it up. Sliding in the tackle, Mead. Ball back in dispute, and Corey Warner's clipped high. So.
Yeah, good win from Corey Warner.
Push out, please. Out.
Certainly the work rate's lifted by Sydney in the last 8 minutes. Kicking not so much.
Advantage, advantage.
Port Adelaide allowed to play to advantage. Horn Francis to Rioli. Took the heat, took the Sharon. And again, he's a big bang for buck player, Willie Rioli. You give him a few possessions, he will hurt you big time. And there's Pal Pepper getting hurt big time.
That's a rib buster.
He doesn't go down easy.
Willie Rioli, this is game 96. He's only ever had one Brownlow vote his entire 96 game career. So he doesn't dominate games, but he does dominate parts of play to the point that he turns games. Premiership player in his own right. Any struts. You can't nail this moment. That's across the face. Come through for a behind, but that would have been a bit of a nerve settler there for Port Adelaide because the Swans are coming right now.
The Swans are off and moving too. Bice off the back flank. And Radicalea stands tall in front of McCartan, wins the clear one-on-one.
Yeah, just not showing any craft there whatsoever.
Here's Rosie, sends it back down to half forward in from the side. Malikan. Love having him back. Hasn't played since round one against the Lions. Moves on a little hurriedly here to Rampy. Back down the wing. McCartan will get another go. Radicalea stretching for it. Rosie lends a hand. Oh, dumped in the tackle from McCartan. That'll be a free for the Port skipper.
Yep, well, Rosie's the spare, so that James Jordan tag has been dropped just to try and support their defence, which means Port Adelaide have got a spare behind the ball, and most often it will be Rosie.
As Dwayne mentioned, premiership player is the only one that's won a premiership in this Port Adelaide team today. Sydney have a couple with, you see, James Jordan at the Demons, and Joel Hamling early in his career, a young man with the Western Bulldogs.
Ironically against Sydney.
Yes. The times have changed to stint the Dockers in between. Port here just controlling a bit of possession.
And they can pull it back into the corridor at times as well, so if you're Sydney here, you don't want to get dragged too wide.
Sim. Oh, takes on Hayward on the mark, gets around him. Another contest kick down the line, and in the end, the only man who competes is McLean, who takes the intercept mark for Sydney.
Yeah, he's starting to put a few good things together here, McLean, but ball movement, if you're going to go small on the forward line, if it's not at a stoppage, you need the ball coming in. If they're going to get the best out of Will Hayward, it needs to go in quicker.
Almost the grab for the man you're talking about. Little 1-2 might work. Cleary flicks the handball up. Boak picked their pocket, got it to Mead. Down the spine they travel. Horn Francis. Big 4 minutes coming up here to halftime. Horn Francis to Powell Pepper. Couldn't get their wicks. They've sent him back this year. And he's been really good back there. Short to Corey. Bice. Campbell. Hands it out wider to Blakey. Crowd starting to rise. He's on the run. Post. Can you believe it?
Well, once again, though, good signs. Wicks was magnificent. It was one of the great marks of the weekend and nearly turned into a goal.
Yeah, just the work that he had to do to get there on Powell Pepper. He charged forward.
Short to Butters. Now at the Mead. Here go Port Adelaide again.
Doing it well here, Port. Really executed well.
To Burgoyne, to Burn Jones along the boundary line. Here's Powell Pepper. Continues the shift up to Horn Francis. All the hyphens combined.
But they're doing it with some speed. It's get it and go, get it and go. Make it up on the way through if you have to.
Back to Burn Jones. That was inventive. Try to force the out of bounds on the full.
We've just seen Ollie Wines come from the ground and go down to the change rooms with the doctor. Now, he came off about 7 minutes ago, spent 5 minutes on the bench, and most of that time was with the doctor. So he's gone back on, but now off, and looks like in some concern.
Horn Francis clicked high. Florent got him. And this will be a shot at goal for the Power.
Yeah, just sloppy, wasn't it? I mean, that's what you get when you get a player like Horn Francis coming through the stoppage at speed.
Yeah, often you get those high tackles. It was interesting watching both Leon Cameron and Dean Cox after the ball hit the post for the Lizard, and they both set the same motion with their fingers. Go quick, keep it going, keep it moving.
Jason Horn Francis coming off a career year. The young man from Port Adelaide, the All-Australian squad. Oh, he shanks that. In the end, he's lucky to register a behind.
It must be the balls.
Yeah, bad balls.
The same ones as they had in Adelaide yesterday. They couldn't kick those either.
Well,
Some players like Isaac Rankin and
yep. Bad bunch of Sharons. Blighty called that one a couple of years ago.
left-handers and right-handers. And Roberts looked pretty good off the boot. Launches it. Burgoyne and Sweet. Sweet can't mark it. Hayward crumbs it. Inside kick is good.
Blakey.
McInerney to Blakey. He's had 3 goes at this. The Lizard runs. Has a bounce. Slithered inside 50. And can't nail this either. It's been a Lizard blizzard, but he can't nail the goal.
He's nearly missed everything there, Dwayne. But that kick inside the corridor brings this player into the game. You could just see there, he sensed it. As soon as it came back in, he was off. That's why Port Adelaide have tried so hard to deny it. Geez, you nearly marked that one down.
Yeah, marked a couple down. I reckon he might have slithered a few metres too far, but they're a bit more generous with the running, the umpires.
Farrell goes long up to the wing. Hand on from Grundy. Sweet knocks it away. Straight that of Bice. Works his way through traffic to Chad Warner. Mowed down. Sweet wins it back to Drew. Up over halfway for the power. Robert spoils, but straight to Pau Pepper. It opens up field for him. Long kick to Georgiades. He marks. He can just roll and go and bangs it up into the second deck. And the Power get the immediate answer. And any type of momentum the Swans were hoping to build, Jared, disappears.
Yeah, it's a killer blow without question, Corbin. And when you've got the momentum, you've worked really hard for 10 minutes, Jordan, and you have 2 or 3 shots at goal, and then you make one error, and you can see here, Lewis Malikan, he's overcommitted. Georgiades out the back. This is a momentum and an energy sapper.
Well, it's effectively a 2-goal turnaround, isn't it?
Yeah.
From the miss, and then Port Adelaide getting out the back. He wasn't going to drop that one. Mitch Georgiades runs into an open goal.
A lot of players, Port Adelaide, whose fathers played at AFL, VFL level. Mitch Georgiades, another one, but a lot of father-sons as well. Port Adelaide, Jace Burgoyne, Tom Cochrane, Jackson Mead, Jason Horne-Francis. From good footy stock. And Mitch Georgiades is really growing as a player now. From the ball up. A dangerous minute and 22 here for the Swans. Love to get one, hate to concede one. Lloyd's got it. Flicks the handball forward in hope. A little fumble, and that's all it takes sometimes. Drew rolls it on. Boak attacks it hard. Boak one way, Heaney the other. Bice ducked out of a jam. Handball almost picked off by Butters. He had plenty of ideas as to what he wanted to do with it. He just couldn't collect it. He gets it now. He flicks it to Pau Pepper. Danger again for the Swans. Georgiades! He's fumbled another one. That's 4 that he's put to the grass. Row bottom nearly. 2 Port players collide. Burn-Jones.
Oh, he had an opportunity.
Double teamed. Gets away with it.
Yeah, Georgiades could have had some half of football. That was a difficult one. He's getting an opportunity. He's getting some looks at it.
McInerney gave it off. Florent goes by hand. Long feed to the wing. Warner collects it. Seconds are ticking. A last roll of the dice here for the Swans. If McLean can mark it, and he can't. Sin crumbs it. And that'll be a ball up with 20 left on the clock.
After half-time, they're going to need all their superstars to play well. Warner's lifted. Heaney hasn't touched it in this turn.
Rosie braced for contact. Took the Sharon, knowing the contact would come and knowing that he had to take some seconds off the clock. The signs are up on the bench. 30-second signs. I'm not sure they've got a 14-second sign to whack up now, but they know how long left. Pocket picked. Heaney, row bottom. The Grundy was the big stealer. Warner with the chip. They need a mark. They don't get it. Sin. And that's exactly what it's been from the Swans going inside 50. Sin after sin after sin. They just can't find a target in there to pass to. And Dean Cox is going to have to reach deep into his bag of tricks at half-time here at the SCG. The Swans have not won at the SCG this season. 2 games here so far for 2 losses, and they're in a 27-point hole with a half to come. Great to have your company on the Sunday Ticket on Fox Footy. Don't go anywhere.
Go. All right, half-time here at the footy, folks, and Port Adelaide continue to stretch that lead, 7-4-46. The Sydney Swans, 2-7-19. They can only manage 2 goals up until half-time. The coach looks disappointed. He's thinking, what are we doing? Addy G, how you going, brother? What's going on? I tell you what, can you believe this scoreline? Can you believe this scoreline? 27 points, Port Adelaide leading the way. I tell you what, Sydney just look in disarray. There just doesn't look like any run in the Sydney players at all. They don't look like they're out there to play. It's a little bit of a slow game, actually. It's a bit of a strange game. Sydney looks like they're playing a little bit like they did against Collingwood with no fight in them at all. We'll definitely have to see what happens with them after half-time. Tell you what, they need to come pull their finger out and do something in the second quarter. I think if Sydney were playing reasonably well, they should be they should be at least on level terms or a little bit above Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide, well, that's just a workmanlike game. Nothing special from them either. It's just that they're doing the little 1%ers a little bit more. Got a little bit more fight. They're actually out there wanting to win this game. Port Adelaide, though, putting on 3 goals, 2 in that second term. Sydney Swans, 1 goal, 5. I tell you what, they got to kick straight, folks. They got to kick straight. Hit the post, and I tell you what, it's going to cost Sydney if they can't end up kicking straight. It feels slow. It definitely feels slow. It looks slow. As I said, this game's like a little bit of a replica of the Collingwood-Sydney game that I felt when I watched. It looks like, I can't see Sydney getting back in this game unless they do something extraordinary, flick the switch in their own mind and to get them alive. Anyway, that being said, let's get over there and have a look at the goal scorers. There's not really many goals scorers so far. I'm surprised Port Adelaide haven't kicked a few more. George Giardis is the only multiple goal scorer, and he is for Port Adelaide. He's kicked 2. Connor Rose, Willie Rioli, Sam Powell-Pepper, Ollie Lord, and Tom Cochrane are the single goal scorers there for Port Adelaide. I think 2 goal scorers there for Sydney. I tell you what, I'd be disappointed if I'm a Sydney fan. Isaac Heaney, Will Hayward, the only 2 goal scorers for Sydney at the moment. AFL fantasy points, see, nothing much is happening here either. Zach Butters, 65. Jason Horne-Francis, 63, with Kane Farrell, 63. The rest under that. The leading point scorer there for Sydney, Hayden McLean, 53. Nick Blakey, 53. Tell you what, I want to have a look where the Warners are sitting as well on disposals because, really quiet. Not even any run from him at the moment. Nick Blakey, there we go. The Lizard, top on the table with 16. You would not expect that. We'll get back to some of the stats in a moment. Let's just head back down to the commentators and they'll give us a little bit of analysis on the opening half.
Intensity we saw against Hawthorn for a second week in a row. Well, they have been quite captivating.
Yeah, it is. They've been right on song. They've stuck their tackles. They've given really good pressure. I feel this game is a lot closer than the scoreboard suggests. They're just hanging their Swan supporters and keep going Port supporters with what they're giving out at the moment. But this game is really, really close. Weirdly sounding, it's just what they're doing on the scoreboard. And that sounds weird, but yeah, trust me on that one. 2 goals to 7.
It's the energy, like you spoke about before the game, Durham. If they bring the energy like they did last week and start like they did last week, it'll turn the game for them, and that's what they've shown. Like Sydney are winning the contest, but it's the around and ground battle where they're Port winning it, and then they're just spreading harder.
We spoke to Dean Cox before the game about their contest numbers, which have been really poor throughout the season so far. Well, they've ticked that box, plus 24 in the contest for Sydney. They're just unable to convert it.
So inside 50s, they're only -2. They're 26 to 28 in favour of Port Adelaide. They've kicked 2 goals from 26 inside 50s. Now, Port are riding their luck. So from true kicks, they've kicked 7 goals, 1. From real kicks at goal, Sydney have kicked 2 goals, 6. I mean, the Horne-Francis shot late was the only bad kick they've had at goals. Everything else has gone through. They've ridden their luck really well. Butters, the best throw of the season, ends up in a goal. So they've ridden their luck.
So we've got some vision here of Nick Blakey, who's done so much right. I think he's 500 this game, which is extraordinary. but then blazing away and then not nailing the goal.
6 inside 50s, Ed.
Yeah, well, we spoke about him before the game. If he can use his ball and run, he's trying to turn the tide for his team. He's getting on the end of it. He's having shots, but it's just costly. Like, you have to take your time. If not, lower your eyes, find a mark inside 50. They've only had the 3 for the half.
Yep.
But these are costly. If he kicked 3 of them, the game's turned.
Notice how they're all pulled. All those
Pulled
3
to the
kicks
right.
are all pulled to the right. Now, the next play outward bound for Port Adelaide. Bang, they win this contest. Pal Pepper, Blakey's opponent, gets on the end of the ball. Bang over the top, and it's a walk-in goal. That's the tail of the tape at the moment. They're riding their luck, Port Adelaide, but they're doing it really, really well.
And you speak about the inside 50s. Yes, 26 to Sydney, 2 goals. They're going at 7% and only the 3 marks. Then you go to Port Adelaide, 28 to 7 goals and 11 marks inside 50. So they're lowering their eyes. They're finding better options within their 450.
All right, we're going to head to Alistair Lynch, who is watching the game unfold from boundary level. Lynchy, Connor Rosie, we spoke about him before the game and his importance to Port Adelaide off half-back. How are you seeing his game?
Yeah, absolutely. And the Sydney Swans obviously thought he was going to be a very important player to shut down, so they put James Jordan to him for the most part of that first half. They dropped the tag halfway through that second quarter. It was on the back of, he was just too dangerous with the tag, so they thought they'd match it with a head-to-head with Campbell. But Rosie across half-back, he was hitting targets and he's giving plenty of run, as you were just talking about with Nick Blakey, who started to really get going in that second quarter. But this is where Rosie can be so dangerous. We saw last week best on ground, 28 and 2 goals. And this game here, he's at 15, he's got almost 400 metres gained, and he's starting to get out into some space. So no doubt that although they've dropped the tag, they'll be very sure to make sure that he doesn't have the impact that he did last week and for the majority of that first half. And another, just a bit of an update, injury watch for Ollie Wines. Ollie Wines came off the ground halfway through that quarter, spent 5 minutes on the pine with the doctors, went back on, only lasted about 60 seconds, then went straight down into the rooms. So remember, Rory Atkins is the sub. He didn't warm up, but it will certainly be a must-watch at half-time.
Thank you very much, Lynchy. And if Ollie Wines doesn't come back on, would you expect Rosie to be deployed back into the midfield then?
No. Find
Keep
someone
doing what
else.
works.
Get one from the midfield. He is that damaging off half-back at the moment. They've got no answer for him. They've dropped the tag, but they've dropped the tag because he was almost untaggable. It was a little bit Nick Dacos-ish that they were looking to give the ball to him. 15 possessions, only 4 of them were contested. So they're looking to give the ball to him whenever they can, and his fleet of foot movement was just too much for James Jordan.
Yeah, like we spoke about in the first quarter, where every time someone took a mark, it was like Nick Dacos. They would just give it, and even if he was under pressure and he had a meter on him, they still looked to give it to him because he's such a good ball user.
Yeah.
You flagged that it was going to be a key to the match, the 2 half-back flankers and their run, their drive and their score involvements, Ed, the fact that they're able to set things up further down the field.
Yeah, well, when you speak about these 2 players, they can change the game for your side, and Nick Blakey is trying to do that for the Sydney Swans at the moment. He's leading, the disposals on the ground with 16. There's 500 metres gain, and then the 3 behind. So he's getting these opportunities up the ground. And we spoke about, do Pal Pepper, he's playing that role on him, does he go with him and be a glue when he gets up the ground? Because it's chalk and cheese. He's trying to get at the back and go forward, but then you can't let Nick Blakey go.
So at the other end, you're looking at James Jordan, and he tried to play on Rosie. He just was incapable. He was too good. His movement was too much for him. So they dropped the tag. At the other end, Pal Pepper is still on Nick Blakey. Now, don't go up to the midfield, because that's where Blakey wants to be. He wants to go, bang, my moment, bang, I'm gone. And then he kicks the ball inside 50 and hopefully kicks a goal instead of 4 points. But what Pal Pepper needs to do is drag him as far as he can back towards his own team goal, so Blakey's disengaged with play. But if Blakey says, nah, stuff you, I'm going up into the midfield myself, you've got to come up and stick on him. Now, every caption you saw of Nick Blakey then, Pal Pepper wasn't even in the same frame that we're looking at. So he's not
close enough, so he's not getting it right. We know Pal Pepper has a go at everything he does, but if he comes up into the midfield, he's literally got to tag Nick Blakey. Otherwise, Blakey, if he starts kicking it well, he'll blow this game apart.
Well, it's been a weekend of upsets so far, so we wait to see what the second half brings. You can sit there and eat some more chocolate. You've made an absolute mess there. As we head into the newsroom, David Zeta with all the latest. Zeets, let's look at some injury news across the weekend, and there's confirmation from the Bombers on the severity of Sam Draper.
Yeah, so it is a ruptured Achilles for Sam Draper. So his season is over for the Bombers. Of course, an unrestricted free agent at season's end. So there is a chance that he may have played his last game for the Bombers. We saw these discussions with Brad Scott at the three-quarter time break. Brad Scott said post-game this was about a calf issue. He then came back out and had the Achilles rupture on the opposite leg and obviously went to ground, no contact. Pretty significant injury there, and it's seen his season come to a premature end. The Bombers now have to make do with their tall timber at the moment. Darcy Fogarty, the club, the Adelaide Crows, have confirmed it is a sternoclavicular joint sprain. Gerard Healy was onto this upstairs, the resident physio. It was after that bump with Harry Himmelberg. So he has avoided major injury, and he is a test for the clash against Fremantle next week, which takes place over in Perth. So they'll test him for that. And then the next game coming up, St Kilda and the Western Bulldogs. Max King won't play in that match, but Max King, he has recently had another round of surgery. The Saints are confident this time. They think that they may have solved the issue. So they found a bone spur and some tissue across that knee. It's been a bit of a trial and error for the Saints trying to pinpoint the exact issue for Max King. Ross Lyon adamant they haven't been playing ducks and drakes, but they are hopeful that they have found the solution for him this time around. Obviously, we won't see him for at least 6 weeks. You're not going to see him before, realistically, the mid-season bye, but after that, that's certainly in play for Max King to make his return and play his first senior game of 2025.
And Zeke's huge game tomorrow at the MCG. How are the teams shaping up for this one?
Well, Jack Ginnivan's currently playing in the VFL for Box Hill, the first time he's played for them since moving across to the Hawks via the trade period. He's had 19 disposals, kicked a couple of goals and a couple of behinds. So he's put in a good showing there. Connor McDonald's set to come in as his replacement there for the Cats. We know someone's going to have to come out of the side for Tom Stewart to come back in. He obviously had gastro last week and was a late out. Ted Closey potentially in the mix for that. But a couple of teams, those teams' selection news to be confirmed a bit later on today, and we'll keep you up to speed in the newsroom.
Thank you very much to David Zeta. Yes, tomorrow promises to be absolutely huge. It is one of the biggest games on the football calendar. The marquee fixture, Geelong and Hawthorn, our coverage live from 2:30 p.m. from the MCG. And then after the match, AFL 360 will be live from the G. Sam Mitchell and Chris Scott to join Gary Lyon and Gerard Waitley and to discuss all of the bigger issues over what has been a crazy Easter weekend of football. And then the big one on the couch, Lee Matthews returns.
All right, folks, 6 minutes until the bounce of the ball to the second half. Let's just roll back to the stats of the team. The player stats there, where we got to. Zach Butters there for Port Adelaide, just on 14 there at the moment. Brodie Grundy doing quite well there for Sydney. 12 touches, all handballs, no kicks for the big man. 2 tackles, 18 hitouts, 3 clearances. Tell you what, when he's on song, Sydney definitely look a better side. All right, let's keep going down the board. Chad Warner there, the Chad. Only 10 possessions, unlike the Chad. I don't know whether he's carrying some niggly injury or he's just having an off season so far. 10 possessions, 9 kicks, 1 handball, 1 mark, 3 clearances for the Chad. Jace Burgoyne there up to 9. Ollie Wines on 8. Willie Rowley on 8 there. Isaac Heaney also quite game for him. The star of Sydney, just the 8 disposals, 2 kicks, 6 handballs. Slotted 1, but he needs to lift. He needs to do more also. Corey Werner up to 5. Let's keep rolling down. Darcy Byrne-Jones, well, he also could lift for Port Adelaide. He's just on 5, and there are the rest. Let's have a little bit of a look at the team stats there. Well, only 15 disposals, the difference. Sydney by 15. Kicks, 28 to Port Adelaide. Handballs, 33 to Sydney. Get your kicks going. Get your kick. Both teams pretty even going inside 50. 26 times inside 50 for the Sydney, resulting in only 2 goals. Not good enough. 2 goals, 9 scoring shots. 28 inside 50s though. But Port Adelaide, 7 goals for. Every 4 entries, they kick a goal. That's a little bit better there for Port Adelaide. As you can see, the disposal efficiency for Sydney around the ground, pretty low there at 67. Port Adelaide a lot better on 76. That's nice to see. Free kicks 11-8. Not too much happening there in that department. Hit-outs, Brody Grundy on top there, 25-21. +4 there for Sydney. Clearances, +2 there for Sydney. Centre clearances pretty well tied up as the stoppage clearances as well, 16-15. Contested possessions, well, there we go. Even though Sydney's going a little bit harder at the ball, they're just still not using it, are they? Uncontested, all tied up, 103 apiece. Turnovers pretty similar, 36-37. Marks, 51. Port Adelaide, there we go, 24 plus. Marks inside 50, a lot better there to see from Port Adelaide. 11, just about on season average already, and it's only half time. Sydney just not finding the space inside their forward 50. Only the 3 marks up until half time. Pretty disappointing there from Sydney. Big bad boy, how you going? Georgiades kicked any? I think he's, let me just double check that. I'm pretty sure, I think I saw him kicked a couple. There we go, Mitch Georgiades. 2 goals from his 5 kicks so far. The leading goal scorer out on the ground up until half time. JH088, how you going? How you going? Welcome in. So Georgiades, we'll go back through the goal scorers for everyone who's just come in late. Mitch Georgiades kicking 2 goals for Port Adelaide. Connor Rose, Willie Rowley, Sam Powell-Pepper, Ollie Lord and Tom Cochrane, the other single goal scorers for Port Adelaide. Sydney Swans, Isaac Heaney, Will Hayward, 1 each for the Swans. There we go. We're only 2 minutes away from the bounce of the ball. We'll get back into the third term. Well, you know, I tell you what, Sydney need to put a firecracker under themselves to get back in this game. I know the commentators said it's pretty even. I just prefer the way Port Adelaide are playing at the moment. When they're playing like this, they just don't have that spark and that fire. You're going well, thanks, mate. Just subbed upon your channel. Might have to sub. Cheers, thanks, big bad boy. Thanks for that. Appreciate it. All right, we're going to get back down to the ground, take you back down to the commentators, and they'll take us in to the third quarter, which is only a minute and a half away.
A lot closer than what they are. What do they do next to turn us around?
Yeah, +24 contested possession. So they are getting their hands on the ball, but it's about transferring that to the outside play. And I think that's where Port Adelaide really excelled in the first half. They've closed down space. They've made them overuse the ball and put teammates under pressure. So that's a positive that they're getting their hands on the ball, but now it's about shape around the contest and then getting that into the open spaces.
Yeah, the kicks inside forward 50, Lynchy highlighted them at quarter time, was there for everyone to see. But I think they've got to sort out Zach Butters. He is just dominating in and around the contest. They experimented with James Jordan on Connor Rosey. For mine, James Jordan's got to go into the middle of the ground and go on to the fire starter, because he is the fire starter.
Alistair Lynch is downstairs. He might have some news on the start. Welcome back, Alistair.
Yeah, g'day, Dwayne, and the sub has been activated for Port Adelaide. As we spoke about just before the halftime break, is Ollie Wines has been subbed out. He was having long discussions with the doctors before going back onto the field, and then only lasting about 1 minute. So he's been subbed out. It is for his heart rhythm issues. Wow. There's no great concern, but his heart has gone out of rhythm, and so they've subbed him out. So Rory Atkins has come into the game. I did ask if it was a serious concern, and obviously anything to do with the heart is, but they're very comfortable with where it's at, but he needed to be subbed.
Thanks, Lynchy. He has had that issue before, for those that haven't heard, so it's good that they're managing that correctly. And Rory Atkins, his first game for Port Adelaide, 101 for Adelaide, 37 for the Gold Coast. Presented his jumper pre-game, so a big moment for Rory Atkins, about to be injected into the game for Port.
Well, it looks like it's going to be head-to-head, at least temporarily. Chad Warner having a chat to Butters.
Just watch Butters on that arc, going behind the ruckman. Maybe Horn Francis will create a little bit of space. It's the tap that they like if they can get that.
So they've got the big guns in the middle here, but so too have Port Adelaide. It's head-to-head. Let's see if the Swans can connect a bit better going inside forward 50.
Port by 27 points. We start the second half. Crooked bounce. Sweet whacks it forward. Ben Jones gets a second look at it. Away to Drew. What a start this would be. Shoots goalward and Port pick up where they left off.
Wow.
He kicks a goal and we're a dozen seconds into the third quarter. And Willem Drew. What a way to get going for Port Adelaide.
Well, it's a great start by him. He's on the Swans' #1 man in Heaney. It was a
horrible bounce.
Biased bounce that favoured the Port Adelaide, obviously. They got the long punch, but you still got to play to the whistle. And the punch went forward. Let's just have a look at Willem Drew leaving his man. There's the big punch. Heaney goes first. Misses that ball. Goes to the wrong side of the contest. That's the luck of the draw, unfortunately. But a great start by Port Adelaide.
Yeah, second goal from centre bounce, 4-1 to 1 point from stoppages. Port Adelaide dominating this area again. That would certainly frustrate the coaching staff. All these conversations at half-time to come out and give a goal up within 10 seconds.
That's the true definition of luck of the bounce.
Yeah, good handball there by Darcy Byrne-Jones as well.
So from that bounce, Port Adelaide with Butters clearing it, getting it inside 50 by a metre or two. Low bottom, hammers it back out, gets it a half forward. Great attack, Bergman. He knew the heat was coming, happy to take the Sharon.
Yeah, he knew, McInerney knew that he had to fly as well, decided not to.
It's out wide, just out of Cochrane's reach, and it rolls out of play.
It's not often Bergman misses a target like that. Wasn't by much.
Big opportunity for Port Adelaide. This is Ken Hinkley's 13th and final season as Port coach. Josh Carr taking over at season's end. What can Port make out of this last season for Ken? Last week's form was sensational. Little palm off was nice from Chad Warner. Trying to fire his team back into the hunt. McLean got a hand on it. Ball knocked down. Butters playing it at both ends. And he did win himself a high free kick. He is attacking the ball like every ball is the last he'll ever attack.
Yeah, it was brilliant with a one-hand pickup. Then he got the head chop.
And the star he is as he lays it off to his mate Rosie. What a combination they've been. Out of the same draft class. Up to the wing. Melican with his knuckles. His Roberts to Grundy. He goes all the way back to Rampy. Puts his palm straight in the chest of young Moraes. Sends the Swans down the wing. Up strong. And that will be paid. Good goal for Corey Warner.
Yeah, just made him earn it there, Connor Rosie.
See Dean Cox there. You've seen him in the front row of the bench, the second row of the bench. He's been standing up. He was in the box. He's out on the ground. What would you be doing if you're Dean Cox right now, Jared?
I would have gone for the tag on to Butters. He hasn't gone that way, but he was always a mobile ruckman. He's obviously a mobile coach.
Hayward had the drop after that early McLean fly. Has a second go. Hayden McLean. Jones. Handball intercepted. Row bottom. Turns. Snacks to keep the Swans in it. He's got it. And the Swans start to climb back.
He's a beauty, this bloke. Often has a negative role, robotomising the opposition's best in the middle of the ground. But he can go forward, and despite slightly unusual kicking style, he very rarely misses targets. He'd be a great player to play with. He's finished high in their best and fairest in recent years. A couple of thirds in the last couple. You just have a look at him come in, intercept mark there, and bang round the corner goal. Favourites in Sydney. In fact, he's got a best and fairest now named after him in the Sutherland Shire at one of the clubs there, because they're that enamoured with the way he plays, they decided to name their best and fairest after him.
Love it. Back in the middle. 33 points was the biggest margin. Plenty of time left in this for a season-changing victory from behind. Row bottom to do it again. Goes long. Off hands. Hayward. Put it in the book. 2 in 20 seconds.
Easy game, Jordan, when you get the ball out of the middle and you hit the crumb. And he's looking actually really sharp, Will Hayward. He just needs a few more opportunities. I mean, it's been total butchery going inside forward 50 in the first half. Maybe with a little bit of heat, the Port Adelaide defenders under some pressure, it might turn around.
Yeah, no, it's important to get back-to-back goals for Sydney. and certainly out of the centre bounce when you can get a dominant clearance in that. The body work was done early. You just see there the agility to go outside to your favoured foot, and Jones slips over, attempting to tackle. So you're right, 2 quick goals in a row. The energy's up. The home crowd can now, off the back of that, try and create some momentum.
First stoppage goal for the game for the Sydney Swans.
Yeah.
Sweep the hit out back in the middle to Chad Warner, who's tackled.
You see there even Warner getting a little bit more movement through the stoppage. Warner at row bottom. James Jordan.
Grew up an Adelaide fan, Will Hayward, so I don't know if he's got a lot of love for Port Adelaide dating back some years as Butters away to Moraes. Quick kick forward and Roberts immediately gets it moving. Green lights for the Swans here. Blakey released. Now closed down, spin move. And then a hope of a kick, a high up and under. Hamling.
Well, they've changed that, haven't they? Hamling's gone forward. And obviously McCartan has probably gone back. Hamling was recruited to Sydney clearly as a spare parts player. Didn't play all of last year, but when he was in the VFL, he was playing forward.
Do you like that move?
Well, it wasn't working the other way.
Yeah.
So I think we've seen a few positives. Certainly speed. They've just said, go. Let's go.
2 quick ones for the Swans. Can they make it 3? Here's Chad Warner. Runs into the tackle from Mead. The Mead tackle lingered. So free kick for Warner.
Well, I think similar to the...
Look, quick play on again. They're going faster than they have for years.
Jordan, Hamling's in there, knocked it down, but he knocked it down to Farrell. And barrels one out of there, just gets it out of there and launches it to half forward. Georgiades won the race and then lost the battle because he held a jumper. Rampy, advantage is paid even though it wasn't his free. Heads out wide to Lloyd. They've got a spark, the Swans. You can sense it. You can feel it. The crowd can feel it. They sent Hamling forward. He doesn't have a big goal-kicking history. And I say that. Game 96, he's never kicked one. Ball towards McLean. So they'd love it if he could kick his first, second and third goal in a hurry as a man that's been sent forward. Joel Hamling began life on the Geelong list, picked 31 in 2011. No games there. Bulldogs, then Fremantle, and now with the Swans. Try and save the day. Vaughan Francis runs the wing. Couple of bounces. Got Lloyd beat. Heads it to Powell. Pepper couldn't reach it. Georgiades knew what he wanted to do, but he didn't pick the ball up first. Rampy, Chips, Wicks. The crowd want him to go.
It's like they're playing in a different stratosphere at the present time. The tempo is completely improved by 50 to 100%.
Roberts hits wide and finds Florin.
You can just see there the desire to keep the ball in motion.
Florin trying to get it to Campbell. He's going to get a second look at it here to row bottom. Handball to Cleary. They work it down the wing. Corey Warner over the top to Hayward, who can now send it inside the forward 50 for the Swans. McLean's got his mitts around it.
Yeah, it's a good kick, and that was fast ball movement. Ball in motion off half-back. Even though there was a mistake within that play, they were able to clean it up and tidy it up to get the ball inside forward 50 to a genuine one-on-one. You see there, Alir was to the left-hand side. Can't come over an impact. And this has been done off the back of some pressure from Sydney Swans and some fast ball movement out of their back half.
Hayden McLean, he's had a couple of looks today, 2 behinds. His return so far, his third set shot. There's a look at it, straight in front. And the Swans have found a charging station in the nick of time. They're right back in this game. 3 on the bounce for the Swans. And all of a sudden, it's a 15-point game.
Yeah, and they've given themselves an opportunity. Last year, they were the second slowest, I think, side moving the ball, D50 to F50, made a grand final, got punished, got belted in that grand final against the side that was one of the quickest ball moving sides in the competition. And I think today we've seen a combination of blokes just not getting near it, but also Port Adelaide playing great pressure. They couldn't move the ball, Sydney. But it's been a significant shift in approach by the coach. We saw it on the boundary line after the Lizard hit the post. Both him and Leon Cameron saying, just keep going, go quick. And it's obvious that this is their change in method. And forwards love the ball coming in more quickly without the cavalry falling back on top of them.
Umpire lets that bounce go, even though it was off to the side. And he's going to redo it. It was a contest, but the umpires called it back. They normally allow a fair contest like that to roll.
Well, they did in the first set of bounce.
They did. So Port Adelaide were outscored in the second half last week. It's just they had such a big lead against Hawthorn, it didn't quite matter. But they didn't have as big a lead in this one. 33 points was the biggest lead they've had. It's down to 15 now.
Look at Robottom. He's all over Butters. He's kicked the goal. He's been involved in the last one.
Blakey, tackled by 3.
I think you've got to just show him complete respect, though, Butters. You can't go the footy and leave him on the outside.
A flick to the side. Butters was held. Showed him too much respect. Both plays on. That's a horrible decision.
He was sort of caught, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And away Sydney goes.
Jones out wide. Campbell with him. Jones. Not what he was after. Campbell takes off on him. And he tackles him big time. Jones made amends. Brilliant tackle on the rebound. Butters floats it wide to Rioli. Just when he thought he was about to concede one, he might actually create one, Jones. It's a hold free. Darcy Burn-Jones to finish.
Well, it certainly ramped up a level.
Yeah, it's all about the Jones boys here, though. 1.5 back line, 1.5 forward line.
It was terrific. Terrific chase. I thought Campbell would have got away.
Yeah, he just didn't really have any understanding of what was in and around him. And right there, he must have known he was under the pump. Had no awareness. There was 2 guys who were going to tackle him. He was looking up forward. That sometimes you just got to go forward or dribble it and take your chances. That's a good kick. Just doesn't have to change space. And the Swans defence under all sorts of pressure. Yeah. Not sure the free kick was there, to be honest.
No.
The umpire paid it.
But it was a clever kick by Butters. Just that sideways kick allowed Darcy Burn-Jones to get a little bit deeper inside of his own forward 50. You see there.
5 goals in a dozen minutes to start the second half.
Yeah.
3 for the Swans, now 2 for the Power. Big momentum. Holter try and stop the Swans' run. They're keen to get that back underway. Grundy to Jordan, kicks out to half forward. Nice work, Sin breaks it up. Hanley takes the body. Lloyd gets the footy. Handball away to Corey Warner. Slipping on that new relayed turf. Regathers his feet, swings at goalward, but misses.
Yeah, tough choice. Tough choice. Just probably should have brought that ball back into the centre when you're under pressure.
Did well to keep his feet on the turf, though. It was like the Roadrunner there for a second. Spinning wheels.
A few players have slipped over on that, hasn't it?
Not a lot of players have changed their boots either, even though it's a little slippier out there. Leah, he delayed his decision to go to Sin. Worked out okay. Power Pepper.
Extra players here.
Sizzler of an inside kick. Works to Farrell. Not 50. It was in the contest at not free. Heads out wide to Rioli. That's his flank.
There's Wicks' man.
Willie, eyes are darting. What's he want to do here? Spins the ball in his hands. Beckons a few to come at him. Just chips it, and that is perfection to Sam Powell-Pepper. He waited, and then he waited it perfectly to Sam Powell-Pepper.
Yep, he remained calm, didn't he?
A couple of Swans players could have dropped into the leading lane there. There was just too much time and too much spectating. Good execution by Port Adelaide from one end of the ground to the other. Ball movement superb.
Port Adelaide began the round 11th. 2 wins, 3 losses. Both these teams coming in 2 wins, 3 losses. One will even the ledger today at 3-3 and be either percentage inside or percentage outside the 8. Sam Powell-Pepper laced that across the face, and the Swans dodge a bullet.
It's only 1 win, Geordie, but it feels like a lot, doesn't it? The difference between 3-3 and 2-4.
Oh, absolutely.
They're 2 games away from getting back equal, being able to launch from that spot as Blakey off the back flank, kicks down the wing, desperate effort Hayward. Rosie got it away to Boak, back to Rosie. The skipper in the famous number 1 for Port, kicks inside 50. Georgiades there with Melican. Georgiades a second play, left it behind. Oh, Roberts gave it to McCartney, fumbles. Wicks a clean up to Bice. And Riley Bice goes darting away for Sydney. To Lloyd. Long kick down the wing. It's good lead. Handling on the end of it. There's a win up in the front half for Handling.
Yeah, this is where they've got to try and keep some speed on the ball. You can see there, numbers coming into the screen.
Back to Bice. Dabs it short to Jordan. We'll get 2 here for it. Handball away to Wicks. Wicks closes to about 52 metres out. Is he within range? Wicks to full forward. Not quite. Aaliyah there to save the day in the back pocket for Port.
Yeah, good defence by Port Adelaide, and to get it outside forward 50 was excellent work coming in. No one pushing up for Wicks. It was always going to be the long bomb. And it was gained to a 2-on-1.
Travis Boak, game 376, needs to play next season to get to 400. Still having a pretty good year, the old guy. Farrell heads long into space, and that'll kind of work.
Lynchy, is there a win down there when Farrell kicks the ball? Because they're all going left to right.
I think there's that beautiful left footer's arc. He's just pulling them over to his right. But no, there's not much of a breeze here at all. Perfect conditions.
Back into play.
Holding Sydney.
Holding Sydney free. Was it off the ball or Hamling in the ruck contest? Okay, Hamling in the ruck contest.
Lingering hand just grabbing his jumper.
Play on.
Pulls the kick late. Little short. McInerney had to fist it away, but didn't get much knuckle on it. And Zach Butters back in control to Travis Bogue. It's a pretty good spot with the kick. Goes long. Lord gets up there and didn't really hit a good spot.
No,
the kick
just too deep. Yeah, too deep. I thought he was going to punch it a little bit into that pocket to allow Ford to lead into it. Now, those kicks, you don't want them to be too close to the goal square to allow the defender to spoil it over. See there's Sydney lining up in the middle of the ground.
Look at that one on the wing. You've got to be able to get it over the top here to that guy, and then off he goes.
Yeah, McLean.
When it's set up, just go for it.
Bias backs himself in, arches the back, 4 bounces. Gets rid of Lord. Handball to Chad Warner.
Finally.
There's the kick. Down to McLean. And better from Sydney.
That option's been there every kick out, and it hasn't been used once. You've got blokes like the Lizard who can spot up kicks. It's something they need to work on.
Forward 50 fills up. Can they get a mark inside the attacking arc? Not the B. And Jones picks it off for Port. 26 entries in the first half. Sydney, just 2 goals. Dangerous kick there. McCartan trying to break it up. Slides out the back to Sweet. Moraes against the boundary line. Off his non-preferred, puts it out of bounds on the full.
I don't mind the set play though, Jared.
Yep.
Allow Bice just to take off and challenge the Port Adelaide player on the mark.
Well, you got the Lizard and Bice. You got 2 of the great kicks.
Great speed.
Yep. And what I've noticed every time, McLean's been standing there with his hand in the air. That's the first time he's been used.
Roberts, they love to get the ball in his hands. He's a good kicker normally as well. Swans' #1 possession winner this season, Matt Roberts, which is bizarre. They don't have a possession winner in the AFL's top 50, the Swans, so far this year.
500 metres gained in the first half, the Lizard. Always helps though if you kick goals.
Hayward lets it slip through his fingers, but it might work. Cleary attacks it. He hits a good spot with a kick. He's got McLean at the back. Knocked it down. Heaney, a little slip from Heaney again. And on that relay turf, that might have cost them a goal there, the Swans. Heaney just couldn't get any traction. He might get this for ball. It comes out. Jones. I'll have it.
Yeah, he gave him the benefit of the
They're all
doubt
slipping
there.
over.
It's rubbish, Dwayne, isn't it? I mean, it may be very late and look good before anybody runs on it, but it's not good enough for footy.
The SCG, the Sydney Concert Ground.
Up it goes. Sweet down to Boat. Kicks out of the defensive 50. It's coming back. And flying.
This is one where you got to look at Radigalia and try not to go in that direction. Great
Warner's
kick.
sitting there.
That's a good kick. Got it to Warner. Couldn't quite complete the mark outstretched. Wicks bangs bodies with Mead. Pepper picks up the footy. There's a free for a high. It's going Sydney's way.
It was a great contest between Mead and Wicks initially before this free kick was paid to
Wicks
James
got a
Jordan.
crook shoulder.
Yeah, that was a huge collision.
He's going to have to come off, Wicks.
There was that collision there with Mead.
Back to me.
I think we'll have to go again.
Just running off towards the bench at the moment. Wicks after that contact. Big kick this in the context of the game. Swans have kicked 3 of the last 4. James Jordan on his way in. He gave it a tug. In the end, it doesn't score.
That's unusual for James Jordan as well. Usually a nice kick of the football.
I repeat, Jeddah, it is very good conditions here in Sydney.
Yep. No, I think it may have been his foot slipped again on the grass.
Long launch. Great mark, Milliken. Good to have him back. Straight adductor. Oh, wow.
They're having a good spell here, Sydney, but they're not eating in enough to what's a pretty good lead. And Port Adelaide have counterpunched really well.
It has been the story of the game, hasn't it, Jared? Their efficiency.
Yeah.
A lot of the statistics have really stacked up, but their efficiency with ball in hand going forward has let them down.
Saw Wexy had to come off with that shoulder. He was hanging to one side. Horn Francis, great crumb. It's got Rioli out the back. Roberts, Rioli too quick.
How cool was that?
That was brilliant. He's a really good player, Horn Francis. It's hard to believe how much he's had to cop over time. There's been a few that have doubted him, but from the outset, he's always looked like he's had all Australian qualities and just getting better as a player every game you watch him.
Yeah.
Will Rioli to settle things down for the power.
Nah, he's a joy to watch, Dwayne. He's a player that you switch on the TV to watch. Absolutely. Turn up to the games. It was a lovely finish by Willie Rioli, just getting out the back from the contest that was centre wing. Horn Francis using his speed and his power to get the ball over the back.
I think it's probably a lesson for the Swans defenders as well.
You've got to cover the inside.
You got to, and you've got to almost cover the defence. I mean, Willie Rioli, look at that. Roberts is on the charge. He's never going to get there. He must have been way too high and hasn't read it anywhere near well enough.
The most important position when there's a kick down the line like that is the inside. You want numbers on the inside to try and have layers of defence to disallow what just happened then.
Yeah, that is somebody deep.
Alistair Lynch on the boundary. Lynchy.
It looks like Aaron Francis has been subbed into the game, so can't see who's been subbed out. You'd imagine it was Wicks with that shoulder, though.
Grundy whacking it forward. Cleary got a handball away to McInerney. This is Jordan. Goes back to Cleary. Works his way through a couple of defenders. Touched on the way through. Bergman can't trap it.
Just slip over.
Another one.
They get it away through Atkins, fresh on the ground. Now a little dribble kick picked up by the Swans. Roberts to Jordan. Now to Grundy in the middle of the ground. Hampus trying to hit Roberts. Missed in. Farrell had it, lost it. Now Roberts gets a play on it. Turns, kicks to full forward. Radikalia with strength trying to hold him out. Horn Francis caught. Good tackle, Hayward.
It's a great tackle from Hayward. He's really lifted his work rate. His pressure's good. When was that concert, Dwayne, by the way?
The Puccini tragedy.
Yeah, but when was it?
None shall sleep.
It was only 3 weeks ago, actually.
April 3.
So it's had 3 weeks to settle into the grass.
Which is nowhere near long enough. It actually is quite slippery. It's staggering that you'd do that in the middle of the season. And just an update, Francis has come in. It's for Tom Hanley, so Wicks is still in the game.
First concert, by the way, the SCG's had since 2019.
And maybe the last for a while. Well,
I think the fine print may need a look at.
little wobbler. Blakey. Gee, puts that down. Crazy stuff happening at the moment. Roberts heads to goal square, and it should be cut off. It was
Skipped in.
almost fumbled, and then Adelaide had to mop that little mess up. Through for a behind. Huge 5 minutes and 50 coming up here to three-quarter time. Rosie to kick in.
The shin of Hayward's just got whacked by the boot, the flying boot of Aliria.
Rosie hits wide. Flyers go up. Rioli stayed down. Crunched by Roberts. Ball rolls to the boundary. A ball in.
Just on Ollie Wines, by the way, so third time in the last 4 years he's been subbed out with his heart condition. So his cardiologist saying a couple of years ago in 2022 when he was diagnosed that it is a non-life-threatening condition. He was subbed out in a game in 2022 against Melbourne. 2 years later against the Hawks. On one occasion he missed the next week. On the other he played the next week despite the fact his heart was out of rhythm in play. So it has happened again for Ollie Wines. Obviously it sounds super serious, but the club and Ollie confident that it's something he can play with and manage his way through. But it's flared up again today and subbed out at half-time. So Rory Atkins into the game. And this is Burgoyne. Can put the power inside the forward 50. Carries over the head of the Flyers up in front. One of them, Georgiades, gets a second look at it. Ball up.
The Swans have really lifted, as everyone can see. A few positional changes, ball movement much quicker, much better going inside forward 50. But they haven't actually done anything about the deficit on the scoreboard.
Heaney clears, but only as far as Burgoyne. They try and reload here. Here's Atkins. His new colours for the first time to Farrell. Long kick to full forward. Lord's down there. McCartan does well to spoil. Lloyd to Heaney. His kick chopped down. Butters onto it. Looks back inboard with a kick. Boak. Juggled effort. Not quite. Tunnel ball out the back. Swans will get it.
Well, Grundy took a bit of time to pick it up. Still trouble in paradise here for the Swans. Struggling on their home deck this year. Haven't won a game here this year. Kicked out of mid-air. That might work if Boak can get there. He can't. Nice. Read it nicely. 27 points the margin. Biggest margin Port Adelaide's had was 33. Bice heads wide. Little nudge out. So Aaron Francis, Joel Amati out. Aaron Francis in for his first game of 2024. Plays on to disadvantage. Sticks to that side. Not the best of kicks, but it might be the best of kicks if they can get away with it. Rosie picked their pocket. Sweet dropped it. Jordan fumbled it. Roberts dives in, pulled it in. Sweet all over him, and the umpire all over that.
It was unlucky because you're trying to win the ball. You lose your feet.
Loops the handball to Jason Horne-Francis. No one on him. He launches goal square. Can he get it all the way? Distance wasn't a worry, and there might be a free kick here.
He could have kept running, Horne-Francis.
Yeah, it is. It's a free kick to Rampy. Score doesn't count.
Rampy to Wicks on the wraparound, so he's back out there despite a crunchy bump he got earlier in the quarter. To Grundy, and now to Campbell. The Swans did kick 3 in a row earlier in the term. Port have settled it down with the last 2. Sydney trying to get something going late in the piece. It's Francis flying. His fellow sub in Atkins got a handball away to Bergman. Runs it arc and gives it to Butters. Ordinarily a good idea, but he's running out of room. Back to Bergman. Oh, to Burgoyne. Off to Pack flank. He comes very wide with the kick. And one way or another, it'll be Sydney's ball. It's out on the full.
Yeah, they just kept running into trouble, didn't they? Burgoyne just grabbing his hamstring there. Hopefully that's nothing too serious.
Robert's been told he's got to go over the line. There, he's done that now. The native Croator goes short. Roberts to McInerney.
Need more movement forward of the ball. You can just see there, Sydney players are stagnant. There's a lot of Port Adelaide players in the defensive 50, but you need to create options.
Try and mark that. Let's see what someone can do for the Swans. Warner tries to measure the kick to Lloyd, knocked away from him. And Burn-Jones got it away to Atkins. Had a few touches since coming on. Finds Georgiades on the wing.
Yeah, you'll have to slow it down here. You can just see there, Sydney players rushing back into defensive 50.
Slowed it down, waited for Cochrane, who runs through a couple. Lord delayed it. Burn-Jones. Not really what the doctor ordered there. If you Ken Hinkley, could have done all of that time, didn't they? Well, 2 minutes left. You'd love to kick one, but you don't want to concede one, concede momentum. Port Adelaide, again, they were dominant in the first half last week against Hawthorn, but Hawthorn did have a big run at them in the second half. So Port Adelaide outscored him. Horne-Francis is getting a taste for it. Yeah, absolutely. He's got a taste for 3 Brownlow votes as well, maybe. Taste for all Australian. About to send it long, coming off that 29 possession game last week where he dominated. Georgiades couldn't mark it. Lakey crumbs it. Row bottom. Butters. Great use of the body.
Yeah, initiated contact.
Hands it off to the Hornet. Horne-Francis. Oh, he danced into a jam. Gone. Has a little laugh about it.
Right on by James Jordan.
Yeah. High.
No, they paid the high free kick.
Yep. So the crowd don't like it. Horne-Francis looks at the bench to find out how long left, to see if he's got a full allotment of 30 seconds here to use. Yeah, that's to the ear. Yeah, it was.
Umpire just getting some feedback.
As they always do. Again, they do boo here at the SCG. And Jason Horne-Francis, it's almost his soundtrack, the boo. Wherever he plays, he chips it to the pocket. Georgiades has done that a few times. But it's almost a win for Port. 47 seconds left. Instead of kicking it behind,
and giving it back to the opposition. Keep it in your forward zone and maybe scrounge your goal, but take the seconds off the clock if you can't.
I think it was a loss for Jake Lloyd, who's still extracting that knee from his ribs.
Oh, Heaney caught. Great tackle. Butters. Burn Jones a little high. Up a little more forgiving.
A little high.
I agree with you, Jared.
Yeah, it did look a bit high.
There's the follow-up tackle. Yep. Around the ears of Roberts. Here's Butters. Somehow squeezing a kick through. Rioli, it's touched.
Everydaypartoflife putting his hand up, which was good work from Willie. Don't have to go to the... we're going to have to go anyway.
Score review. Umpire's call is touch.
It's the first one of the day.
Please confirm your touch off the boot.
1 2 minute.
Review underway.
So soft calls touched.
Well, Willie's call was touched, so that was enough, surely.
Which means we need conclusive evidence to overturn.
Review complete. Looking at this
score?
angle, we can see the ball is touched before crossing the back of the goal line. Message on the scoreboard.
And it's a port by 28, approaching three-quarter time.
I don't know, you would trust most players, you guys, but there's a few you wouldn't trust, isn't there?
Not if they're actually calling point.
No, it's true.
They're calling goal, yeah, I'm prepared to...
There's a lot of guys that put their hand in the air, I've touched that, but haven't.
Yeah, but not usually when they've kicked it.
Roberts goes long. Little nudge out of Lear, but that'll be okay in the marking contest. And well, Adelaide will get a roll of the dice here. A mark, and they can have the last shot at goal.
Push out.
Up they fly. Flying at the crumb. Hands it wide. Don't need anything crazy here, the Swans. Mob up the remaining seconds. Wicks. There's a little bounce and runs. Siren beats him. Three-quarter time, SCG round 6, Easter Sunday. Great to have your company for the Sunday ticket on Fox Footy and Port Adelaide. Their biggest margin, 33. Right now it stands at 28, 10, 7, 67 for the home team, who haven't won a home this year, 5-9, 39.
All right, three-quarter time, folks. Port Adelaide, there we go, 28-point leaders at the moment. Stretched it out by a point. Sydney in that third term, I tell you what they look like. They found a little bit of spark, a little bit of run. 3 goals, 2 they kicked in that third term. Port Adelaide, 3 goals, 3. Port Adelaide contained Sydney's run, though, shut them down a little bit, and, well, the result is there. Port Adelaide winning that third term by just 1 point. But it was good to see Sydney actually showing a little bit of fight and having a little bit of life in that third quarter. Of course, Port Adelaide has silenced the crowd in this game so far. But anything can happen still. 28 points is still not a big margin. Just 5 kicks, 5 goals is all that's needed. From the Sydney Swans, if they can hold Port Adelaide to maybe 1 goal only in the final term. Sydney could be in with a chance. If they find that little bit of spark and bring the crowd back into it. Who knows, folks? Who knows what's going to happen? All right, just before we get down to the final quarter, let's get this underway again. Let's check out those stats again for everyone that are interested in the goal scorers and the disposal count. Willie Rioli, George Artis, Mitch Georgiadis and Willie Rioli. The multiple goal scorers there for Port Adelaide, both with 2 each. Connor Rose, Sam Powell-Pepper, Ollie Lord, William Drew, Tom Cochrane, Darcy Byrne-Jones, single goal scorers there for Port. Of course, for Sydney, only 1 multiple goal scorer. Will Hayward, he's kicked 2. James Rowbottom, Hayden McLean and Isaac Heaney, single goal scorers there for the Swannies. Disposals, let's go and check out those. You never know, some people take a little wager that some get 25, 30, 20 and over. Let's see how your plays go. Matt Roberts leads the way for Sydney out on the ground with 24 disposals, 11 kicks, 13 handballs, 2 marks. Doing nicely there. Connor Rose on 23. He leads the way for Port Adelaide. Zach Butters next best on 22. Kane Farrell, 21. Nick Blakey, the Lizard, he's up to 20. Well, he has a reasonably good game, 16 kicks, running off half-back, couple of clearances there for him. Brodie Grundy, always trying his best there. He's up to 18, the big man, doing well, 26 hit-outs, 4 clearances. Horn Francis, look at that, Jason Horn Francis, Port Adelaide, 17 disposals. He doesn't like handballing much, does he? Look at that. 17 kicks, no handballs. Wow, 5 marks, 8 marks, 5 tackles, 3 clearances. Doing well, but trying to do it all himself. Trying to give Port Adelaide that little bit of a run. Chad Warner up to 15. Tell you what, he needs a monster final quarter. 15 touches, 12 kicks, 4 clearances for him. Let's quickly continue to roll down the board. Check out the stats for your players. Isaac Heaney, I tell you what, he has really been unsighted out there today. He's just had 11 touches, 4 kicks, 7 handballs. He's kicked 1, but he's been well held today. Travis Boak up to 10. Let's keep going down. Who else we got? Mitch Georgiades. There we go. 8 possessions, 6 kicks, 2 goals for him today. Let's keep going down. Who else? That's probably about it at the moment. All right, let's take that back up to the main board. We'll get back down to the ground in just a moment. Lynchy's having a discussion. 55% on the vote have called Port Adelaide winning this. Don't forget, vote who you think's going to win. Although it's a 28-point margin, anything can happen in footy, folks. It doesn't take long to kick goals. If Sydney get enough of the run on, stop Port, Sydney could do it. I'll tell you what, they need a big firecracker to get them up and running. They need the crowd well and truly behind them. There we go. Shout out, cheer. We're enemy Tino. Oh, you're going for the different teams. So all good stuff, good stuff. Blightwater supporter, thanks for hanging in there. Tino Bem, thanks also for hanging in there. Big bad boy. Shout out to everyone out there hanging in there. Anyway, folks, we're going to take you back down to the ground. Port Adelaide by 28 points. We'll be at the bounce of the ball in a little under 30 seconds time. Let's be excited for a close finish. Come on, Swans. Let's get this game back close.
Last year in Isaac Heaney, who started well. Second quarter, 1 possession. Third quarter, just 3 possessions. If they are going to win, he needs to almost put the cape on like he did in the prelim final. And along with Chad Warner, just dragged this club across the line. But unfortunately, there's superheroes on the other side. There they are. Number 9 and number 18. 2 blokes who can rip your heart out. They've done a pretty good job of it to date. So Port Adelaide, they're looking pretty sweet at this stage. The succession plan seems to be working okay at the moment, Jordan. It just seemed to have recovered a bit over the last couple of weeks. Very impressive is this bloke. He is just such a great player to watch. Can do it in the air, can do it on the ground. There's the coach. He knows he's not far away from going back-to-back victories.
The challenge is right in front of him, isn't it, for Sydney? You're right, that man, Isaac Heaney, the captain of this football side. They need a huge last quarter from.
And Geordie, you touched on late in that quarter how Jace Burgoyne came off the ground holding his hamstring. Well, he didn't even go to the physio, so a young man like that probably doesn't know what a hamstring is, but he's back out there, which is a positive for Port.
Yeah, hopefully just cramped. I think Port Adelaide didn't have enough players on the field.
That's only on the bench, Geordie.
That's how well they're going.
Wow. They had 6 forwards, only had the 5. So Willie comes in off the bench, he stands on the wing.
They wanted to play one down. Make it interesting.
They got a 28-point buffer. They got 1 quarter to navigate to square themselves off at 3-3. As Butters is charging through, gives it to Bergman. Away to Horn Francis. All the key stars involved, and now Rosie, as he'll get the centre break. Kicks it deep forward for Port. They come from all directions. Mead and Powell-Pepper at the drop. They can ruffle on Powell-Pepper. He got it there.
Hit the post, I think.
Oh, the goal umpire likes it.
Yeah.
And for Port Adelaide, the margin's as wide as it's been.
The Swans player was pointing at the post, but gee, that was just supreme football. So clever, and I can understand there'll be a lot of people thinking that's the end too, young fella, but that was out of the centre. That was just a machine. It was absolutely perfect.
Where's his left foot here, Jarrett? Might have made it a certain goal. We see here if it does touch the goal post. The umpire's right there.
A great look at it.
Oh, he's in the perfect spot, the umpire. Have a look at this, though. This is just superb. 1, 2, 3, and then the kick to advantage, and then one off the outside of the boot.
This goes back to Dwayne's question, who do you trust? You can see there every single Port Adelaide player celebrating the goal.
Well, you trust Sticko. They've got Sticko to go to, so obviously they believe that it didn't stick the post because they've got the spike in the arc, and There was no spike, obviously. Goal counts, and now it's a deeper hole. Radigalia wrapped up and dropped quickly by McInerney.
Yeah, good pressure in the forward line for McInerney. He's had his 3-week spell. He's been a bit rusty today, but has kept working hard. Ollie Wines at the back. Corbin's explained his issues.
Yeah, he joined us late with the heart issues that have been an issue for him in previous games. Bergman, straight down the staples. McCartan started forward, sent back.
I think that experiment we can now put into the grave, Dwayne.
All over?
Yep. I think that's done.
Forever?
Yeah.
So they're going to need a forward from somewhere. Amati's out for a while, and Logan McDonald's not due back for a while either. Bice chips it wide through the hands of Hayward. Jones. Bergman running right back there. Even Sweet is a run and carry guy they're prepared to trust with his kicking. Holds it up. Time's on their side. She's to do anything crazy.
It's a great rebounding defence now with Rosie. Bergman just continues to get better. Farrell, yeah, three dart throws off the back line.
Here's Heaney, and he tries and spark something for the Swans. Got it to Grundy. Handball lifted to Rowbottom. Back to Heaney. He shoots goalward. Aaliyah awake to it and saves it.
Well, he's having a go. He's really trying. But Aaliyah just read that better than anybody.
She's had a word to a couple in the crowd there.
Yeah, and very pointed as well. There's a long conversation there.
Yeah.
Between Aaliyah and the person in the front row. As Aaliyah goes towards a contested halfback. Horn Francis. Handball out to Mead. Bit of footwork, sockers it down the wing. Florent knocks it in the direction of Rowbottom. Little fumble and happy to see it out. Word from Port, by the way, Ollie Wine's feeling well, so he's in the rooms. A little heart flutter earlier. Here's this incident again.
Oh, yes, the throwing of a fan or a little banner from the fence. So Aaliyah not happy with it. So it'll be interesting to see if the AFL follow that up. Florent heads toward that battle between Aaliyah and Francis, and he pounced on it, and he keeps them alive. Aaron Francis, the super sub, sent forward.
There's certainly a bit of life, Jared, in Sydney, so it's exactly what they need. The crowd needs to be energised. Usually comes through goals, so he just kept his feet. Aaliyah was the one that slipped over.
And you just never know with Aaron Francis. He was picked 5 many years ago. Clearly got so much talent, but never really been able to nail a spot at 2 clubs, Essendon and Sydney. But who knows? Maybe opportunity gives him another chance, and if he can nail and become a forward, he's going to do better than that. And that was really Aaliyah going to ground, which presented his opportunity. But here's the fan from the back line, and that's just not on.
What would you possibly be thinking of there?
You're not. You're not. They knew straight away that it was the wrong thing to do.
He's sweet. Grabs it out of the middle. Driving kick forward for Port Adelaide. Georgiades reaching for it. Blakey got it out to Wicks. Rioli in pursuit. Kicks into oncoming traffic. Sydney win it back. Wicks to Grundy. Under pressure. Kicks across the half-back line. Here's Chad Warner. Short kick that didn't travel the required distance. Jones awake to it. Breaks it up for Port. Hand pass to Burn Jones in the forward pocket. Whacks it back to Pau Pepper. On a cellar dummy. Burn Jones still alive for Port. Here's the veteran boat. Back inboard to Jones. Campbell wraps him up.
Yeah, the Sydney players stopped. I think they thought it was going out.
Yeah.
This is the part of the ground where you've got to maintain the rage. You cannot afford Port Adelaide to get a goal here.
Tossed in the air, players ducking and diving. Drew knocks it on. Pau Pepper went to the outside of the boot. So Rampy hammers it away. Gets as much distance on it as he possibly can. McLean couldn't get a run at it. And it's a push in the back. Corey Warner on Connor Rosie.
Yeah, they don't need to take any risks here, Port Adelaide.
We're in that traditional Port Adelaide captain's number 1. Here's to the pocket, Blakey.
No, he's had a game that could have been absolutely best on ground. He just hasn't finished his work. But he's been a fine contributor nevertheless.
Jordan, it wasn't the required distance, and now Blakey and Warner combined to maybe mess it up. Wicks mops up their mess. Heads long, down the staples. Great commitment. Back into the team, Justin McInerney from suspension. Held his ground. There's still some life. Roberts can kick a goal. He can launch one long. Heads toward the square. Francis! He might kick two and kick the door back open.
He's been given a fair angle by the umpire. I would have thought he was on the line.
Back in, first game of the season. And he has kicked two. And the game's alive.
You can trace it all the way back to Sammy Wicks.
Yep.
Inside the defensive 50. Just the ability to take the game on, not give up on the play. You probably started with Blakey with a few really short kicks. See there the fan getting spoken to after throwing something onto the ground. But this mark from McInerney, he knew what was, well, he probably didn't know what was coming the other way, but took bravery to complete that mark. And once you get the Port Adelaide defence turned around, that's when you're starting to get really strong positions.
Yeah, well, Port Adelaide, they'd be disappointed that they had plenty of time to get behind the ball, didn't get the numbers back. Aliir got caught. I mean, he's in no man. I was at Radagaloya. He was in no man's land.
There's a long conversation happening there. Port by 22. Game's still on. Blakey off the back of the square. There's a fresh air shot. Rosie is it helped to him by Grundy.
Even Grundy, I think if you're aggressive in the ruck contest, try and get these hits to the outside.
Still pumping up the tyres there on the bench. Round the neck, yeah, definitely there.
It's going to Grundy.
Just for the Sydney Swans, Lewis Melican has gone down into the rooms with the club doctor for a head injury assessment.
Thanks, Lynchy. Here's Grundy. Deep forward again for the Swans. Jim McLean hits the deck. It's a Port free.
I thought McLean touched that.
He called block.
Ooh. Yeah, that's just the wrong call.
He called block. Yeah. That's what you're supposed to do as a forward.
Yeah, and feed back onto the ball, which you did.
Actually went past the ball. Past the drop of the ball. Bizarre decision.
Little things can become big things at this point of the game as well. Aliir heads wide. Heaney got some hang time, left the Sharon behind. Burn-Jones back into the lineup as well this week's been pretty good for Port in his return game, and Pepper accidentally knocks that out. Ball in. Burn-Jones back from suspension, just like Justin McInerney's back from suspension for the Swans.
There's the Lizard. He's just getting this habit of ducking his head when oncoming traffic comes, and it puts himself in a really dangerous position for a spinal injury. I'd love him to get it out of his game.
You can feel it, the crowd feel the team's still in this. Here is Blakey, full steam. Warner needs to lift his rate. Hayward dives inside with a handoff. Wicks set up the last one. The handoff. Hayward, advantage being paid. Florent, secondary handover. McInerney doesn't take his moment. It's across the face. And Aliir pretty happy to see that roll out. Huge opportunity wasted there from the Swans.
This is where you love a little Papley when you're inside the forward 50.
Yeah.
He thrives on this occasion. See there, Callum Mills.
He'll do.
He'd help.
Yep.
6 or 7 of their best. 22 missing today for the Swans. A sweep out of the ruck here. Handball in front of Sin. Got it away to Burgoyne. Oh, big effort from Mark Roberts. Comes and wins it. Away to Francis. His hand pass goes back to Jordan. To Campbell, back to Roberts again, the lefty, to send it deep inside 50 for the Swans. Radagaloya hitting up.
Yeah, that's a great mark from Radagaloya. He's proved to be a really good pickup by Port Adelaide, taking his time. He was up forward, then he's back, but he's settling in.
Swans with the last two, trying to get something going. And Port trying to shut that down. Grundy spills the mark. Campbell goes back to Rampy. Now the forward 50 kick. Is there a mark? There is! Francis has got it again! He's having some turn.
Well, maybe he's just been sitting there and the view was he's a part-time backman, but who knows? Maybe this is where he's going to make his mark in the footy world.
Aaron Francis at his second club.
Always had a huge lead. Always been a great kick. He's just never been able to get enough of the footy to make him in the best 23.
One of their 3 inclusions, Aaron Francis. He's kicked the last 3 in the game. The man's on a heater. And the tenor of this game has completely changed. 3 in a row for the Swans, and Port's leads down to 16.
Well, it's gettable right now, and it's on the back of one man who's come off the interchange bench. He's gone forward. It's an inspired choice by Dean Cox so far. You just never know.
It's probably been a story, though, hasn't it, Jared? Just maximise. I mean, they've had parts of their game that have been dominant. It's just been they're inefficient to turn that into a score or to a mark inside 450. So all those statistics we're stacking up well.
Yep.
And maybe it's just coming together.
Geordie, I think Lewis Melican's just returned to the bench and he looks like he's ready to go back out on the ground, so that's good news for the Swans.
He's going to run and jump on Radicalier there, didn't he? That's good separation. That's the spark they might need in their 450.
With 3 goals from the lead, they were 33 points down. Grundy fighting the fight. Tried to loop a handball out. Lloyd, Jordan, wobbles it. Where's Francis? Where's Francis? Got it on the second attempt. Right bottom, Heaney. The usual suspects now. Heads to the pocket. Jones. Great use of the body on the dangerous Hayward. Port Adelaide were almost overrun by Hawthorn last week. Hawthorn dominated the second half. Great mark again. Good grab. Atkins into the team. First game for Port Adelaide. 101 games for Adelaide, 37 for the Gold Coast. Joe Richards, the late out for Port.
A step further back for the mark.
I tells him to get on with it now. He can't step back now. And he floats it up in hope. Pau Pepper, hands on it. Wicks overran it. Pau Pepper scoops it up in the Rioli direction. The tap was good. Cochrane, look away. Boak, stripped, gone. That's a couple of times he's tried to step through Travis Boak. Caught one in the guts as well.
Sydney chasing the game, and Rampy with a daring kick across the back line finds Cleary.
He's calling block again and a free kick. Yeah, the wrong guy took the mark. He can't block for your other guy. That's the nasty part.
So Burgoyne can put it inside 50 for Port. A few more bodies slip over.
Oh, wow.
McCartan to Lloyd. Up against the boundary line, trying to clear. Burgoyne again. We'll do it all again. Same spot. That's Travis Boak making his way off the ground. Hopefully he's all okay there. Horn Francis. So Francis at one end, Horn Francis at the other, leaping for it, no mark. And McCartan again tries to rebound. Ground all day, back to Farrell, and they'll reload again.
Yeah, Ford's just too deep at the moment. So the Sydney Fords just need to come up and equalise the Port defenders.
Farrell just beyond his range. Gets it long. Georgiades off the back, Rioli. Brilliant pounce on the ball by Rioli. And Wally's done it again. Well, he's one of the great modern-day forward crummers, Willie Rioli. He read this so much better than anybody else. Georgiades could well have kicked 8 today if he had held everything, but doesn't matter. One of his jobs is to bring the ball to ground. The Swans had heaps of numbers there, but Willie hit the front and the square better than anybody else.
Didn't he hit it with speed?
Oh, and controlled the ball. It was absolutely superb. You can pick him up here. He's 20 metres away from the ball. He's just wasting some time, and then it just lands in his hands magnificently.
It was Rampy on that occasion. They had really good positioning initially. You can see their goal side. But one thing you probably need to do at Willie Rioli, you need to body check him. You just see there, direct lane to goal, no physical pressure.
Yeah, too many blokes missing the punch too. I mean, that had to be not clear.
3 goals, 2 weeks in a row for Willie Rioli, and of course what a big week it's been for him. Forced to take a day of personal leave after being targeted again by more online abuse. Nice to see him out there today and starring again in what Port hope will be A second win on the bounce. Sydney trying to change that. Heaney inside 50 and lace out finds McLean.
50 metres.
Yeah, that's for it. Adelaide is running forward on the mark. The umpire's going to reset it. Probably about 30 out from goal.
It was a clever handball initially in the middle of the ground by McInerney.
Beautiful execution of the kick, straight onto McLean's hands. Dropped a couple of chest marks last week. You'd hope he just keeps on practicing going hands.
See on the game clock there. We're only halfway through this final turn. As McLean trots in, it's a must-have. His kick is left. It doesn't help. 21 Port's lead.
4 goals in 10 minutes. That's the equation. What Adelaide need to get through the next 10 minutes. Not concede 4. Swans need to get 4. Aaliyah, well, he has marked that in the end. Another little slip by him. Back pedals.
Can't blame the turf there, Jared.
It's going to be a talking point this year, I suspect.
Wide ball and Grundy. Didn't mark it. Lord picked his pocket and goes. Little flick on. Georgiades didn't quite work. Tried to get it to Compton on the move. Yeah, it's a wonder that players don't wear longer stops, though, with the slipping. Here's the Travis Boak injury as well with his hand or his wrist that he's injured. Got a little bit of afters. So he's off at the moment. Lynch will give us an update on that. All about to be flung back in. Lord Grundy. Grundy tried to sweep it forward. What's the umpire decided here?
Probably another throw-in, I reckon.
Yeah, they don't always decide that. No, they just make it up as they go as to whether they want you to redo it. But there's another couple of seconds off the clock. Port will take that.
Look at here, Heaney v Butters.
Port will take more return throw-ins and bounces if they can. Big hip and shoulder. Mead, game 50, hoping to play it a win. Happy to take a little bit of Sharon and a little bit of Heaney on the way through.
Grundy just whacks it forward, trying to make ground, and Chad Warner will get the kind hop here, looking to fend off Atkins, got to move it. High bomb inside 50. Ball could work out okay for McLean. Fumbles it in the direction of Francis, hands it straight to Bergman. Hayward tackles him. Ball comes out. Heaney to Francis. Radagalia forces the ball out. And now Farrell sees it over the line.
You usually see Warner break away in that particular play, don't you?
Yeah, it was a great tackle in the finish. I think the competition knows his game plan. The fender's going to come.
So forward 50 stoppage here for the Swans. They make something happen. Chasing the game. Down to Atkins to get out of here kick. Florence and Butters as a push. It's a Port frame. It's coming back to Zach Butters. Up to 23 today, Butters.
On Francis flies, can't mark it. Spills to Jordan, got it to Roberts. Still time it there, good enough. But this guy, you can't get it past him. It is a block, you're right. So if you've got to pay it at one end, you've got to pay it at the other.
Consistency.
The guy who lays the block has to take the mark in essence, and that's a good pass to McLean.
Well, once again, he goes for the chest mark. It's, I reckon it's a flaw in his game. He's collected it, so he goes back and has a kick. He's got to get the hands out. The competition tells you to get them out. You get a free kick if your arms are chopped, but it's obviously ingrained in him. Great kick from Heaney. Sets it up.
Big quarter, Isaac Heaney.
Let's kick 1 goal 3. And Hinkley a little edgy in his seat. He knows this one's not over. McLean struts in. That'll bend back a little bit, not enough. Another opportunity wasted. He's kicked 1-4. Different story if he kicks 4-1.
Yeah, 3-2 for the quarter. So I think Port Adelaide, they still need to score. They've played a little bit conservative in the last 5 to 10 minutes, which Sydney seem to be feeding off as well. They still need to go down their end and put a score on the board.
She talked to Daniel Hoyne from Champion Data, and he gives you all sorts of measurements that are important, but he also says the most important measurement is accuracy.
It has been for
A long time.
Champion Data's been keeping that stat for 150 years, Jerry. Accuracy is paramount.
4 by 20 points. As Butters had another fine afternoon. Rowbottom for company. In it comes. Campbell off the deck. Out to Rowbottom. Butters tackling again. Here's McCartan. Wasn't one touching there as much as he would have hoped. Butters always is. Got it out to Sweet. Hooks a kick down to half forward. Malik in the spoil and finds the safety of the line. Where does the turf sit, Geordie, on the couch? Good, bad, ugly sort of scale?
Certainly the second two categories. I think as players we've been very blessed with the surface that we've been able to become accustomed to, but that certainly is up to AFL standard.
3,500 square metres replaced at that northern end as the power go deep inside 50. There's a free, and Georgiades is going to get it. And Tom McCartan started forward, swung back. He can't believe it.
Yeah, he hasn't had a great night. Tommy McCartan had no impact up forward. You just see here, hands around. Mitch Georgiades, that's what the umpire looks for, either a jumper grab or your arms around your opponent.
For all their hard work, Sydney, they've kicked 3 of the last 4. One man's done all the goal scoring. That's Aaron Francis at the other end. And should he kick this, it'll be back beyond 4 goals. Mitch Georgiades trots in. The drop punt, it's good. And he starts the port party in the Harbour City. The Power by 26. Time on in the final turn.
Well, he could have kicked 6, Mitch Georgiades, but nevertheless, he's been a fine focal forward for them. And you sometimes wonder whether fullbacks actually watch replays of other games, because if you do, you're not putting your arms around a person like that.
Certainly not. No, you're right. You're trying to either get beside them or.
I mean, that's not a free kick 100 times out of 100.
A smart forward realises where your opponent's arms are, and then make sure the umpire is made aware of it.
He did really well, Georgiades. He pushed back, and it's almost a reflex to put your arms around, and you've just got to get rid of that reflex.
Yeah, 3 goals from Georgiades. Willie Rioli, 3 goals. Palpeppa, 2.
From the restart, Grundy engages. Boak's back out there, which is good news. Left it behind. Grundy flicks it out. Bice brace for contact, not going anywhere.
It looked like he had the left ring finger strapped up before he came back out, so that's probably why he wasn't that keen to grab that ball. Probably fractured, but he's gone back out there.
Great to have 3-time premiership star Alistair Lynch downstairs for us with that update. Rosie floats it wide and Hope. Hole. Carton free. Advantage paid. Rampy. Time is of the essence now for the Sydney Swans. Early jump, McLean. It's the free. Francis has been their only guy.
He's the deepest on a Lear.
Hits to Heaney instead. 1-on-1. He wins a free, Heaney. Crowd haven't reached for the car keys just yet. 5:24 left. Heaney slots this. And won't be reaching for the car keys at all.
There's been an amazing kick around the body for a long time, Isaac Heaney, right or left.
And kicks the door back open.
Incredible story, a kid from Newcastle who's got as good as kicking skills as anybody in the game. Such an amazing season last year. It's the second time he was All-Australian in a different position. Hasn't been at his best today, but still having a great impact. Pretty hard when you're getting tagged and the guy is just trying to destroy you each time and every time, but he did the same there. It was a pretty technical free kick, but they paid him at one end and they paid it at the other.
What do you thought of his game overall, Jared?
Oh, he's been okay. You know, 4 possessions in a half a footy, the middle half is never anywhere near his standard. So he's been okay, but without he's not going to be in the coach's votes. I think that's fair to say.
So 5 minutes to play. Sydney need 4 goals, and that sparked them. As Sweet palms it down, here's Heaney. And the coalface got it out towards Blake. He's off and running. Got it to Bice, ordinarily a good user. Looks inside the forward 50. Hitting up Hayward, not quite. McLean tackled. Out of play. There's John Longmire, presented to the crowd at halftime today to celebrate his incredible tenure. And John Blakey alongside him, the North Melbourne Premiership player.
Big round of applause as well.
Two old mates for many years. Their North days and then at Sydney. Enjoyed great success. Here's Campbell, snapping but missing. Would have made it interesting.
Yeah, Nick Blakey had the choice of North Melbourne or the Sydney Swans, the father-son. Chose the Swans. 19 points to margin.
Or Brisbane, actually, you could have come to as another one.
Good choice, Lynchy.
Not from my point of view.
Wide ball. Still alive, Francis. He's been their only guy, but he's about to kick it to where he'd like to be.
I think he's earned a spot next week.
Has he what? Sends it long. Feeney, the only guy there. He had 3 Port players to beat. Might still be a chance. McInerney jumped on. Rosie all over him. Umpire says, I'll ball it up.
Yeah, they're stacking their defensive 50, Port Adelaide. So they're going to get repeat entries here, Sydney. You see they've got spares outside the forward 50, so they're just going to make good choices coming back in.
Grundy, Sweet, Warner, they're all there. The usual suspects. Hard attack from Butters. Boak with the poke. Tried to get it out of there. Bice heads wide. Francis. Sidestep was good. Dance past a couple. Ran straight through them. And could not kick goal of the year. But it would have been right up there. And it's an even 3 goals now. 3 goals and 3 minutes 55 left.
Well, certainly momentum Sydney's way.
Well, Heaney's had a huge last quarter.
Yeah.
If he can just give us another 5 minutes of magic, well, then they could get across the line. But Aaron Francis is also lifting. They need the horn at Port Adelaide just to put one final nail in the coffin.
France had 9 disposals, 3 goals, 1 full score involvements in the 4th term.
It's probably the greatest quarter he's ever played in his life.
Well, there might be a man down here. Lord's cramping. So he's a long way from the bench if they want to get him off.
Remembering too, this is a team that kicked 2 goals in the first half. He's kicked 3 1/4. Aaron Francis, while he was sitting off as the sub. Boundary throwing. Sweet knocks it down. Bice gets a second look at it. Goes back to Melican. Heads up front. Here he is again, Francis, and Aaliyah knocks it away from him.
So this is where Brodie Grundy, if he attends the forward 50 ruck, try and get that tap over the back. Usually where there's a lot of space.
Ollie Wines weren't mentioned. Corbin gave you the story. The heart issue has been an issue for him in his career. Subbed out. Drew tried to get a kick away. Henny smothered his ball. Little flick. Francis got it up. Campbell for the miracle. So they're 3 goals from the lead now. 3 goals and they lead this game. 17 points to margin.
That's where the footy is. That end of the ground. +7 inside 50s. They've had their chances.
Someone better mention it. The great Lee Matthews, of course, on the couch on Monday night. Geordie, 3 goals, 3 minutes.
Good to see Lee again.
His great equation still alive for Sydney on that front. There's Burgoyne. Sends a high ball down the wing, and here's Horn Francis who takes the mark. Now can Port Adelaide just drain the last bit of sand out of the hourglass. Nervy 3 minutes. Burn Jones to Atkins on club debut today. The former Crow, former Sun. This kicks that under pressure. Can Sydney go?
He wants to go.
Rowbottom sends it inside the centre square to Blakey. He's got it 70 out. Looks for McLean who marks.
Well, that's a result of Port Adelaide just being a little bit too cute, I think, with ball in hand.
McLean wastes no time, skips in, and we are not done yet. This is far from finished. McLean goals and Port Adelaide's lead is trimmed to 11 points. 2:22 to play.
Yeah, what an important centre bounce this is for Sydney, or for both teams. But I just think that last play on the outer side, Port Adelaide were too safe for me. They needed to take ground and quickly. With that kick from Rowbottom, that just broke open the play. Just see there, kick to Blakey, terrific kick. High risk, but you see the reward when it comes off.
And win, lose or draw, I mean, if Sydney go down, it'll be accuracy and accuracy alone that's cost them the win there. Outside chance to win it, as we know. But sometimes you've got to have a close one like this and get your game back. And they've got a lot of good things back in their game in their second half.
And the big guns are in the middle. Rosie's in there. Butters.
And the crowd's found voice. Drew with Heaney to try and stop Heaney from running and doing this. Caught. Back to Grundy. Got a kick away. They're 2 goals from the lead, the Swans. They need some luck. They need a hero. Aaliyah, Butters, caught by a tackle machine. Francis, he's been the guru to row bottom. Can't get the bend on it. And that gives the ball back to Port Adelaide. So what will Sin do from the kick in here? 2 goals, 2 minutes.
Well, they need to go long and wide. And they need to get all their numbers across to that side of the ground, create congestion. For me, they're a little bit too spread out here.
They're looking for out in the bounds with a punch over the line, surely.
Sin. Long kick out towards halfback. Bounces off the chest of Melican and out of play.
Objective achieved.
Port haven't won a single final quarter leading into today. And they're not going to win this one. They were 28 up at 3-quarter time and now lead by just 10.
Yeah, 5 goals, 6 to 3 goals. In favour of Sydney.
They don't care as much about the quarter one as they will the 4 points. And they've got 2 minutes to navigate. Here's Chadwater on the end of it, got it away towards Roberts. Tumbles a kick goalward. Not the bounce he was after.
He's had a big game though, Roberts. Across that half-back line. He has pumped the ball in many, many times.
Yeah, behind was a bad result there. They needed it out of bounds. Port Adelaide got the favourable bounce. Still 2 goals. 1:36 left. It's doable. Rosie pumps it wide again. They need the fist out or a sweet mark. He doesn't take the mark. Lord doesn't take the Sherrin. Lloyd nearly wins it for free. It's still alive. And Dean Cox knows it. The big steal is still on. Wicks heads long, goal square. McLean's there. McLean! He wasn't clean enough. It went through his hands. Aaliyah bangs it out. A rolling ball. Blakey's still about to get it. Can he kick the miracle from there? Goes inside to McInerney. Port players fly. Off hands. Heaney feeds it out wide. Francis back again. Cleary in turn. Butters waits. We're down to 50 seconds. Wide ball. Front on contact. Florent free. The Swans need 2 in 47 seconds.
Florent looks inside the forward arc. To Cleary. Hang on. I think they give it the other way here. Oh, wow. Isn't that a moment? And the Swans thought they were about to reload. Instead, the ball's given to Pau Pepper. He chips it to Rioli. And the Power can just about run it out. What a big-time whistle late in the piece goes against the Swans. Cox can't believe it. Hinkley's on his feet. And Burne-Jones trying to peel the last seconds off the clock. Goes long down the wing. Spills to Roberts. Handball away to Rampy. Rampy looks corridor. Tick, 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 tick. Running out of time. Heaney's got it. He looks out to half forward. Francis, who's had a hell of a final turn, gives it back inside to Chadwater. Eyes the sticks. He misses. And a behind.
5-8. 5-8 for the quarter.
Makes it 8 points.
And ultimately, accuracy has killed the Swans. There's such a thing as expected score, which adds up what you should kick according to competition average, and they're victors under that circumstance. But it matters none. You don't get 4 points for expected score. And this bloke got them across the line early in the piece. A great win to Port Adelaide.
Swans still winless at the SCG this season. Smashed in last year's grand final by Brisbane and yet to recover. Sydney Swans, 2 wins, 4 losses. And the other side of the ledger, Port Adelaide now 3-3. 3 back-to-back wins by 30 over Hawthorn last week. And they hold on again today by 8.
Yeah, they gave it their best shot, Sydney, didn't they? But ultimately, Port Adelaide did enough in the first half, first 3 quarters to seal the victory. I love another look at that free kick, right? On the wing, I was for certain it was going towards Sydney.
So here's the free late. So
So was that then that Roberts pushed
Yeah, I think that's what the...
into flight?
Wow.
Must have been the call originally. You saw Roberts' immediate reaction.
Yeah, it's just a poor decision in the end. You see there.
So was that a free to Power Pepper though for the push?
Yeah.
In a marking contest?
Yeah. Yeah, that was when it was a waterfall. Even the drop mark by McLean in the goal square, but enough was done.
I see Tom Harley there having a chat to O'Leary.
Yep.
It was after an incident earlier in the game where the fan behind the goals had needed to throw one of those sort of clappers at O'Leary as he was running back for the footy, and the chief executive straight out there to the former Sydney Swans defender, now in Port colours, to make sure that he's all okay.
And there's lots of work to do in Port Adelaide. Obviously, they came here on a mission to get the 4 points, and that they've done. But they'll be looking at their last half and their last quarter in particular, where they just didn't get their hands on the ball. Sydney had it 107 times to 64 and kicked 5-8, as I said, Jordan, to 3 goals. Aaron Francis had the greatest quarter in his life, 13 possessions, 3 goals, 1, and a stack of other involvements, 7 score involvements. Isaac Heaney had his finest 30 minutes and got him across the line, but it was to no end because Port Adelaide had done the work and done the work early, and we're seeing a couple of their stars on track at the present time. And there's no doubt that that half-back line set them up so often in that first half.
Yeah. Minus 46 in the contested possession stakes. So they got beaten in there, so that's a room for improvement. But I think you're right, all the damage was done off half-back. Rosé has another good game. It was set on early on by James Jordan. They decided to drop that tag. Butters with 27, Farrell.
Decision not to tag Butters early, I think they'll question and say, maybe we erred there because that's where the damage was done.
Yeah, certainly through the stoppages and momentum in the first half.
27 scoring shots to 20. Port Adelaide 13-7. Sydney 10-17. One of the stars of the show forward was Mitch Georgiades. It is with Alistair Lynch.
Absolutely, you're one of the stars. Nerve-wracking, you said you were gassed at the end.
Yeah, it's tough work out here. They came hard in that last quarter. We know what they're going to do. They've got some quality players. It's pretty warm today, so I think we're all pretty buggered towards the end, but nice one to hold on to.
Did you feel in the first half you let a few opportunities go? And probably what was Kenny's message at half-time?
Yeah, I think you're right. We probably had an opportunity to put a bit more score on the board earlier than we did. Our pressure was elite in the first half. That's what gave us the lead to start with. It was just about tidying up some contests around the ball. But yeah, when they came hard in that last quarter, we knew they would do that. So it was a great win.
It looked like early there was some great ball coming in, forward 50 at 8, forward 50 marks in the first term. Dried up after the quarter time.
Yeah, they're quality defence. It's hard work out here. So they were obviously in the first quarter we were able to get some ball movement, which is nice. Certainly helps the forwards, but they stopped that a bit in that second half and made it a bit more challenging.
Must be a pretty good feeling, although it was close at the end, but back-to-back wins and start to get that winning feeling back into the club.
Yeah, exactly. I think now it's probably 2.5 weeks of good football really now, so it's all about building week on top of week, and there's plenty left in the season.
Tell us a little bit about the surface. I mean, here at the SCG, it's normally immaculate. It looks like down where you were in the last quarter, it looked like it was hard to get on the footy on the new surface.
Yeah, it's a bit slippery down there. I think they laid some new turf. I don't keep my feet at the best of times, so we're struggling out there. But it's always it's in good nick. It's a great place to play.
And let's talk about that forward line. I mean, you've got some exciting players up there. I mean, tell us about Willie Rioli and what he brings to this team on and off the field.
Yeah, he brings X factor on and off the field. You never know what Willie's going to do, which is a great part about having him. But he's also consistent with some of the actions he does, and he's a great teammate. Brings so much energy to this club, so we love him.
Has it been a hard week for everyone to support him? Obviously, a very difficult time at the start of the week.
Yeah, certainly a tough week for him. We threw our arms around him at the start of the week. He's a great character, brings so much smile, brings so much life to the club. So he loves coming to the footy, and it was good to see him have a good game today.
You said you couldn't hold your feet there a few times. You dropped a couple of puddings there, a couple of chest marks.
If only it was half a step quicker. There's a couple of times I just went, would have been nice to take him, but next week.
Now, well, congratulations. Another solid performance with 3 goals. Well done.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Well done, Mitch.
Guys.
No worries. Well, that's all we've got time for here at the SCG. Over to you, Jace, and the boys on bounce.
Thanks, Lynch. Great call from the team up in Sydney. Back to back.
All right, folks, there we go. Port Adelaide, they hung on to victory today, 13-785, defeating the Swans 10-17-77. Tell you what, the Swans, they had their chances, folks. They had their chances. As you can see, have a look at this worm in the final quarter. Sydney came out, kick, goal, goal, goal. There we go. It was 3 goals straight to Port Adelaide in that final term. Sydney Swans, 5 goals, 8. 5 goals. You heard me right. 5 goals, 8 behinds. 8 behinds. They lost by 8 points. If they kick straight, they win. If they kick straight, they win. They had plenty of opportunities, and of course, one of their forwards down there dropped an absolute sitter in the square. Would have brought them back to win just a few points with a minute and a half to go, but he failed to do that. The pressure just got to him. I don't know what happened, how he dropped that sitter, but the Sydney Swans had their chances. That's why I always say, folks, when you got your chances, you must take them. You must kick the goals, because you kick too many behinds, it's going to come back to bite you on the bum. And as it did, 27 scoring shots to the Sydney Swans, only 20 to Port Adelaide. 7 more, and they lost by 8. Well, at least, I tell you what, at least for the Sydney Swan supporters out there, they showed a bit of fight, they showed a bit of run and dash in that final quarter. If only they'd have shown that in the previous 3 quarters, it would have been good to see. The only time I saw Sydney do that was in the early part of that 3rd quarter, and then they couldn't sustain it. In that final quarter, they certainly did. It was just the accuracy in that final quarter that cost them the game, cost them victory. Tell you what, there we go. All right, let's just duck over. Let's have a look at some of the stats. AFL fantasy points. Zach Butters topped the table, 114 points there for the game. Hayden McLean, 106 points. Kane Farrell, 105. Horn Francis, 105. Brody Grundy, 103. Connor Rose, 101. The rest under that. The goal scorers for today, we had a few multiple goal scorers out on the ground. Starting with Port Adelaide, we had Willie Rioli, great game by Willie, and Mitch Georgiadis, both kicking 3 goals today for Port. Sam Powell-Pepper, tell you what, he's a pretty exciting player, Sam Powell, for Port Adelaide. He kicked 2. Of course, single goal scorers to Connor Rose, Ollie Lord, William Dew, Tom Cochran, and Darcy Byrne-Jones. For Sydney, we had a couple of multiple goal scorers there also. Aaron Francis, he looked like he was going to light the Swans up. He got them going in that final term, kicking 3. Tell you what, he might have just found his spot in the Sydney team down forward, taking some strong grabs, busting the packs. He looked well at home down there. So if you're a Sydney fan, look out for Aaron Francis down forward again. I think that's exactly what they need. Certainly doing a lot more than we see Armady do. So you never know. He might just take his spot. Aaron Francis, well done for the Sydney Swans. Hayden McLean and Isaac Heaney, Will Hayward, all kicked 2 for the Swans. And of course, James Rowbottom was the single goal scorer there for the Swans. Ryan, how you going? Happy Easter to everyone. Hope everyone had a great day. Happy Easter, Ryan. Thanks for dropping in. Happy Richmond supporter in the house. Well done to the Tigers last night. And of course, we head over now to the disposal count before we head to the team stats. There was only one player out on the ground today, the top 30 possessions. That was, of course, Matt Roberts of the Sydney Swans. 15 kicks, 15 handballs, 6 marks, 2 tackles, a clearance and a behind. Next best come the Port Adelaide players, Connor Rose, Zach Butters, both with 27. Nick Blakey, the Lizard, a good game from the Lizard man on 27. Brody Grundy had a great game there for the Swans. I tell you what, he was definitely one of the best there for Sydney. 26 touches, 5 kicks, 21 handballs. He had a mark, 3 tackles, 9 clearances, 32 hitouts. Wowee. He certainly played his role today. Good to see Brody Grundy back in form today. And let's just roll down the board a little bit. Chad Warner got into the game late there in that final quarter, up to 21, 16 and 5, 5 clearances. Not too bad. Jason Horn-Francis up to 20 there for Port Adelaide. Sam Powell-Pepper, I really like the way he goes about his football. Strong, smart player there for Port Adelaide. 15 disposals, 10 kicks, 2 goals, 1. Very impressive with the way he's been playing this season. Willie Rioli, as they say, he's the X factor there for Port Adelaide with his 14 touches. He's another one who loves to kick and not handball, but why not when you're so electrifying as Willie Rioli? 13 kicks, 1 handball, 7 marks, 2 tackles, 3 clearances, 3 goals, 1. Well done, Willie. Aaron Francis, as I said, came into the game late. I tell you what, he's a player to look forward to for Sydney Swans. Really like the way he played up forward, 14 touches, 7 and 7, 3 goals, 1 for him today. There we go, we're just about down and at the bottom of the player stats. Mitch Georgiadis, as someone was following earlier in the live, 9 disposals, 7 kicks, just kicked his 3 straight goals. All right, let's have a quick look at the team stats. The Swans, they got on top. They had a lot more possession in that final term. 383, 307. There we go. 76 more possessions overall, but just couldn't, as I said, the accuracy of the Swans, it truly let them down, and it's what cost Sydney the victory. You got chocolate Easter bunny. My gosh, I feel like chocolate now, Ryan. I didn't have any Easter eggs, Easter bunnies. My gosh, I feel like some chocolate now. There we go. So it was all in the handball for the Swans, 77 more handballs. The kicks were pretty even. They're inside 50s. If we have a look, let's just go back and have a look at the scoring shots. The Sydney Swans inside 50, 61 times, 27 scoring shots. Port Adelaide, 53 inside 50s for 20 scoring shots. Inaccuracy. Disposal efficiency, 69, a little bit under there for the Swans. 74-3, right on season average there for Port Adelaide. Efficiency inside 50. There we go. Both teams could lift in that department. Free kicks, though, the home team +8, 28-20. That's pretty normal for the home team to get more free kicks. Hit-outs, all pretty square there. Just Port Adelaide by 2. Clearances, +13 to the Swans. Centre clearances, both teams shared that reasonably well. 13-8 stoppage clearances, just 8 the difference with the Swans doing the better there. Contested possessions, they came definitely in that last quarter. As I said, most of these figures come +46 in the contested for Sydney. When they get that spark, when they get that fight, they certainly come to play. Uncontested there, just +42 there for the Swans. Turnover, reasonably high turnover game there for both teams. The marks, +27 there, +25 I should say for Port Adelaide. Marks inside 50, both teams getting plenty of marks inside 50. 9 Swans, 14 Port Adelaide, which is always good to see that they're finding their targets, which means they're lowering their eyes a little bit, getting good leads from their forwards. There we go. The tackles, there we go. A little bit low for the Sydney Swans, who normally are a pressure team. Their tackle count down a little bit. I think that's all comes really within the first 3 quarters. They were definitely harder at the ball in that final term there. Port Adelaide doing well with 58 tackles inside 50. Nice to see 10 tackles each for both. Now, let me see, is this... let me try and reload the ladder and we'll see where it is. I want to have a look at the Sydney Swans. All right, Sydney Swans and, of course, Port Adelaide. With Port Adelaide winning that game today, they jump up the ladder into 10th position, played 6 games, 3 wins, 3 losses, 98.1 the percentage. Only percentage out of the top 8 now. Of course, St Kilda, Fremantle and Geelong, the other teams on 12 points. And, of course, for Sydney Swans, that was really a must-win for them. They've played 6, they've won 2, lost 4. That's really going to hurt them. Puts them a game outside now, and they don't want to lose the next 1 or 2 games, or it's really going to be a stretch for them unless they can turn that form right around. And I tell you what, it's hard, folks. It's hard when you have quite a few losses early. It's just hard to make that ground up. The teams above, they tend to start to stretch the points out, and it gets pretty tough to climb that ladder. And especially most teams are looking for that top 4 position, which gives you the double chance, and of course the top 2, which gives you the first home final. Alrighty, there we go. What a game. Well done, folks, to everyone in the live chat. Also, on the poll today, who was going to win this game? 54% went for Port Adelaide. Tell you what, it was nearly we nearly got it wrong. The Sydney Swans were coming home hard in that final term. But the Port Power, they hung on. I'm not worried about Richmond Tigers' season this year. Tell you what, Ryan, I wouldn't be worried either because they look reasonably good. I think there's a bright future ahead for this Richmond team. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if they have a few more wins in store this season. The way they played yesterday, I think they're well and truly able to beat quite a few teams out on the park. Richmond, you know, they were saying that they'd be lucky to win a game this year. The way I've seen Richmond play, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if they could at least win 8 games this year. I think I like the way, geez, I tell you what, they've got some good run and carry, especially on the outside. They've got good pace, they've got good fight, they've got good fighters. They just want to be out there. They want to play great football and then doing fantastic under Uze out there. Don't worry about that. Richmond are on target. But for this game, Sydney Swans, they need to get back, review, and put the word out to their leaders. The leaders, they need to stand up. That is it. Richmond might get 5, surely not 8. I tell you what, the way they played, though, yesterday was really good. You know, they showed glimpses against Carlton. They showed some glimpses against the better teams. But the better teams are just too seasoned, too strong for this young team. But geez, I tell you what, the way they played yesterday, that was a 4-quarter effort from the Tigers, I felt, yesterday. And to me, they were really impressive. Who knows? Who knows? They could just topple a few teams and they might play some of the lower teams a couple of times. There we go. Big bad boy. Let's have a look at the end of the season. And Ryan, let's have a look at the end of the season. Whose predictions for Richmond? Yeah, maybe, you know what, maybe 8 might be stretching it, but you know what, it's not going to surprise me if they do happen to win 8. They're quarter of the way there. Anything's possible. Anything's possible. There we go. But still, they're learning their game, and you know what, I think they're learning very quickly. All right, folks, that's all I've got for this one. That's all I got for this one. You like the call? All right, good call, good call, good call. Don't forget, folks, coming up in just a little over an hour's time, we've got the next game. Of course, that's the Western Bulldogs taking on St Kilda. I tell you what, this is going to be a ring-a-ding-ding game. 7:20 p.m. Melbourne time. That's coming to you from Marvel Stadium. This game, I can't pick who's going to win this game because I feel both teams are in reasonably good form. I think both teams play Marvel Stadium pretty good. This is a, you know what, this is a game I might actually sit on the fence. I don't know whether I can pick one here. McRae back at his old club. Ciao for now, Ryan. We'll see you in the next game. Yeah, we'll see you in the next game. And of course, if we don't see you in the next game, don't forget tomorrow, folks, Easter Monday, the big game. Well, I think it's the second big game of the round. Of course, the big game was Brisbane-Collingwood. That's what I think anyway. But the big game, the huge rivalry here, Geelong and Hawthorn tomorrow, coming live, 3:20 p.m. Melbourne time from the MCG. That is going to be a game you don't want to miss. And don't forget, the next game after that, don't forget Anzac Day game coming up next Friday. Whew. I'll be glued right here, folks, along with you for that Anzac Day clash. That's going to be an absolute ripper. Even if it was a robbery, I know. You know what? The funny thing, I don't know why, but Collingwood seem to have the wood over Brisbane lately. I think they've won the last 4 or 5 matches. But as I said before, a loss isn't a bad thing. It's a good thing just to regroup, bring them back together, and just remember this. I tell you what, they started better than they did last year, so. I think sometimes this thing happens when they have a little bit of a loss, and the Pies did play well in that game. But mark my word, Brisbane will be back. Now let's have a look. I want to have a look at next week's for the folks out there. Let me just have a look at the fixture. I want to see who Sydney and Port Adelaide are playing next for the folks out there. Let's have a look. Where are they? Sydney Swans next week, next Sunday, they play the Gold Coast Suns up there at People First Stadium on the Gold Coast. I think, I tell you what, that's going to be a hard game for Sydney to get up there. I think the Gold Coast Suns might do the job up there. And of course, for Port Adelaide, well, you would expect them to win next week. They've got, next Saturday, they've got North Melbourne at home at Adelaide Oval. So that should be, you would expect a Port Adelaide victory for them again. So that'll help Port Adelaide to climb the ladder even further. But that's all I got for this one, folks. Don't forget, coming up in just over an hour's time, the Western Bulldogs taking on St Kilda. And then, of course, tomorrow's game, Hawthorn taking on Geelong, which is going to be a ripper, Easter Monday football. The Suns did lose yesterday. You never know. That was the away game for the Suns, I think, wasn't it? Let me just double check. That's right. Yeah, that was the away game. Oh, Marvel Stadium. That's right. I know. I remember. I listened to a clip where Hardwick was saying Marvel Stadium's a hoodoo ground for Richmond. They've lost, or they haven't won in their last 10 matches there. And of course, Hardwick, now being the Gold Coast Suns coach, he'll be thinking, maybe it's me is the hoodoo at Marvel Stadium, not Richmond. It could be that. But yeah, it should be pretty good, pretty interesting. But you know, Gold Coast are a different side up at home. They play great up there in Gold Coast. I tell you what, they're very hard to beat up there. You know, even when they weren't playing as well, like the last couple of seasons, they were always still pretty hard to beat at the Gold Coast. I tell you what, it's a beautiful ground there. I've been there once. I've been there once when Gold Coast played Collingwood, and of course Gold Coast won that time when we expected Collingwood to win, but as I say, Gold Coast played pretty well up there. All right, folks, that's all I got for this game. It was Port Adelaide by 8 points. A good workmanlike win by Port Adelaide. Held on well. Sydney got to work on their kicking, or it's going to cost them more games in the future. All right, we'll see everyone in about an hour's time for the next game. Till then, ciao for now.